Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 316. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with SmashBoxx's own GOAT, Johnny V.
I am the greatest of all. I'm like a ghost. Greatest host of
Yes.
switching
And technology.
There you go.
Yes,
Thanks.
clearly.
That's what I'll take. I'll take the ghost.
Hence the seamless approach to tonight. Tell everybody, without boring them, tell everybody what's going on.
Yeah, already I failed. So YouTube is updating their system, so to speak, and for anyone that's out there streaming or knows this, you used to just be able to go to SmashBoxxTV or youtube.com/SmashBoxxTV/live. Well, YouTube is kind of eliminating that, and they're going to an event style thing where it still shows up on our page. You'll still get notified. You can still come. Obviously, it's just not that universal, consistent thing as far as we can tell. Now that might change. We might be able to find a way around that. I don't know for sure. But tonight we didn't really have a chance. We were just kind of testing it right now to see how it goes. But we are, as always, on Facebook and Twitch. Don't forget our Twitch streamers, viewer.
We love you, Twitchers.
And
Are they Twitchers?
Twitchies?
I feel like they'd be Twitchers.
They're probably Twitchers. So, but as we can tell, everybody seems to have found their way here. So maybe people don't just like go to that particular site when it's live. I don't know.
Hit the little bell.
I'm always on the other side.
Hit the little bell.
Ring that bell.
That lets everybody, so that you're always notified whenever we go live. But we appreciate you guys for joining us.
You know the great thing about this new one? We found something that we haven't had in a long time.
Which is?
Dana.
Yes.
He's on this new stream.
He is.
He's been waiting here for us.
He's been hanging out in his new house in his bunker, and he's just like, man, I hope they find a new link that unlocks it so that he can join us. And tonight we have found just that. So I think as we're seeing people continue to pour in, I see even Luke Turnbull from Australia is in the house. So great to see so many of you out there, along with Dan Harbeck. Dan, we hope any and all things go well for you. I know you're going through some stuff, and we're always thinking about you, buddy. So I hope all goes well for you. So I think without further ado, do we even have his intro? Can we get that fancy?
Bet you I can do it.
All right, let's roll it.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Dana Vicich. Buddy, old pal.
I didn't know what to expect when I saw him. I didn't know what Dana I was going to see. Giant, bushy, bearded Dana, clean-shaven Dana, Dana all stressed out with two kids crawling on him. I wasn't sure what I was going to find in this new era.
I think he's just going to sit there silently. He's been drinking Bevel beer all night, and he's just going to sit there and stare at us.
Well,
which would make for a good segment. Dana, welcome, buddy. People by the singles are yelling and screaming, "Where's Dana? Where's Dana? We need him back!" And we're glad to have you. How you been, man? You're at your new house.
Yeah. I'm at the new house. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a long summer. The move, pandemic, kids, working in the disc golf industry is a little crazy right now. So it's been busy on all fronts, but good. Overall good.
So let's start there. You said working in the disc golf industry. I would like to think you consider that a blessing. I think a lot of people would be envious. They probably don't know every detail day to day what you go through, but still blessing nonetheless, working in something you love. Can you attest or confirm the demand for disc golf right now? I mean, a lot of people keep saying we think the pandemic has pushed our sport forward. It's introduced the sport to a lot of people. I know the folks over at DD really have driven that point home, and a few other people have. How about from your perspective? Do you see this surge during the pandemic?
Absolutely. It's been a combination of a number of things. Folks coming back to disc golf after whether a few year delay or 10-year delay. I just played with a friend the other day, Calvin, who I played AMs with back in 2007. He hit me up recently. He's living in Chicago and said, "Hey, let's get together and play some disc golf." And yeah, he's back playing disc golf again. And then you look to say ultimate players. Not a whole lot of ultimate going on unless it's some sort of secret games and stuff. I don't think there's a lot of ultimate going on right now. So we're seeing a lot of ultimate players. Obviously that's a small amount, but then there's just a lot of people that are looking for avenues to opt outside, that they, maybe they played softball before or did some sort of recreational activity or recreational sport that isn't going on. And so they've found disc golf. And then it seems if you were a disc golfer, you sat around and decided to buy way more discs and get way more into disc golf, buy way more gear. So those are the three things that I've noticed, and I think are some determining factors, or not determining factors, but some of the people that are playing disc golf and driving the growth right now.
Well, and to be fair, we obviously all love disc golf and we love seeing the growth. I know even a few months ago, a friend was looking into purchasing a new bike, and I got kind of piqued my interest as well about looking into a bike.
Like a bicycle.
Like a bicycle.
Yeah.
Absolutely almost impossible to come by, like so many other things. I think Johnny might have touched on that at one point during a show too. There's just a lot of people trying to do a lot of outdoor activities, obviously with regard to social distancing and other things, and just being outdoors. So in a weird way, disc golf has grown, but hopefully a lot of that other activity continues to grow as well, which is awesome to see. So describe for everyone, and we don't need every nitty-gritty detail, but describe generically speaking. It's been a little while since we had you. What is some of the day-to-day tasks or things that you do specifically in disc golf?
So yeah, I work for Discmania USA, wholesale accounts manager. So I'm working with your local disc golf shops, your Play It Again Sports, or record stores. Basically, anyone who carries discs, I manage the wholesale side of things. So working on new releases, writing newsletters, customer service, a little bit of everything. And then on top of that, I still work with Disc Golf Park and designing courses, and then selling disc golf to whomever, whether it's a private or public entity.
Obviously, within the disc golf design sector, something I dabble in when given the opportunity still. How have you seen that progress or move forward? Do you still see parks departments getting excited about it even during the pandemic, or is everybody slowed down just because there's less staff? Like what's the course growth been like, even though we're seeing more players and more equipment? Are we seeing more courses keep up with that pace?
I don't think so. Not quite yet. I think that there was it slowed down initially because a lot of park districts you mentioned, with staff, like they didn't bring on seasonal staff, and a lot of projects were delayed, and just a lot of revenue streams dried up for park districts. So maybe they had to pull from, do some interesting things with their budget to make things work, to continue operating their essential things that they need to do. So I would say that while disc golf is booming, I personally, I haven't seen like a huge spike in the demand for disc golf courses. I think that's going to come. And, I've got a number of projects that are heating up, and I think that in talking with these park districts, they're seeing the growth and the interest in their communities, so they're wanting to get on. So I think that the spike in courses is going to happen probably in this next 6 to 18 months. You're going to see a lot more courses going at a higher rate than they were, and there already were a lot of courses going in all over the country, but we're going to see that the disc golf growth, we'll say, has been this, and we're going to new courses are here, so we're going to start seeing that catch up, at least in my professional opinion.
Wow, that's
what you're paid for, your analysis, your insight. That's what we pay you for.
Yeah, so well. So speaking of professional opinions, though, I had the pleasure of heading over to Kewanee, Illinois this weekend, and I had originally shot you a message asking what you thought of the course that was there.
Thanks for inviting me, jerk.
Well, yeah, I can only take so much of you. First of all, big shout out Johnny over at Plastic Addicts, along with Seth, the two of them, and the rest of their staff and crew ran a great event this weekend. But what I specifically... do you remember what you told me about that course? I saw it on UDisc, and then I think I asked you about it as to what you thought of the course. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said it was a mostly wooded, very fun course, and I think I said I hope that I believe that they're starting to take care of it again. There used to be some locals that played a lot years ago and took really good care of the course, and then they kind of disappeared from the scene, and the course got a little hairy, so to speak. But yeah, now there's some more people playing there. Maybe part of the whole COVID boom of disc golfers, and they, Seth and Johnny did the bringing Baker back, and ran the sanctioned event. But I think I played there in 2012 at a tournament, and I really enjoyed the course. It's mostly wooded. It's got some elevation. It's got some short stuff. Nothing super long, if I recall correctly, but just a fun course. And I don't think there's anything else really going on in that space. So it's a mostly disc golf space for at least a good portion of the course.
Yeah, it shares. There is a ball golf course located, I think, in the same park area. And I know I don't give a lot of recommendations out there, but I will. I was setting you all up to say, fun course, exactly as you mentioned. I think they did considerably widen some fairways and reduce some of the brush. So some of the tight lines that I think you see in some previous reviews have actually been considerably widened to the point where it's more than fair on pretty much every single hole. I had a lot of fun playing it, and shout out to anyone and everyone involved with getting that course back up to speed from wherever it was. I feel like I was walking some of the fairways, and I'm like, oh, I could see where they pushed, the fairway out by 10 feet on the left and 10 feet on the right. I'm like, I don't think I would have enjoyed it then, but I certainly enjoyed it. And all around, just a really, really good, fun course with a lot of little elevation changes on almost every single hole. So it was really cool to see. So that's my unofficial course recommendation. Check out the Baker Park course over there. It was a lot of fun. So
and you got to see some pretty good disc golf on your card all day.
Yeah, I watched others.
You watched some other disc golf. I'm looking at the results here. I have it pulled up right now.
Oh, no.
Let's talk about bringing...
We don't need to go there.
Real quick, let's talk about bringing Baker back. It's a C tier in Kewanee, Illinois. The tournament director is Seth Frederick.
Yep, who famously is the driving force behind Sunset Hills over what we just saw for the Ledgestone in the World Championships. Yep.
Our open field, the winner was Jonah Saranglo. Was that pretty close? Jonah, congratulations, Jonah. You won $183. Second place was Ryan Stilson. Third place was Nate Heinold and Michael Anthony. It doesn't appear there is any open women, so we're going to move right on to Pro Masters. There were 5 in the division. Easily trouncing the rest of the field was Josh Goss.
Take a look at Josh's scores. First of all,
Josh is rated 954.
Uh-huh.
He shot a 45, which is a 1040 rated round, 1039, and a second round of 49, which was a 987. He beat the next competitor by 13 strokes, which was, Terry, the disc golf guy Miller, taking second place, tied with Scott Kaczynski.
Yeah, the most important part of all this, and a huge shout out to Josh, really the point that I want to point out, though, Josh bested the open field by 3 strokes. So Ryan Stilson and Jonah had tied for first. Great shooting by them. And then when it was all said and done, we're looking at Josh's scores after we add up everything. I'm like, dude, you would have won, different circumstances. We all know that argument. But he had the hottest score out of all players by 3 strokes. And then I find out Josh lived in that area, used to play there all the time. I'm like, oh, well, that's that makes sense. But solid player, great card mates. I got to play with the same 4 gentlemen both rounds, and just another tip of the hat to electronic scoring electronic scoring also. The fact that it's so easy for everyone here in the COVID world, and just I think to move forward with technology in general. We use the PDGA scoring app, which is the 3rd time I think I've used it this year for a full event, and it's just seamless, and it makes things so much easier for tournament directors. So, but yeah, Josh bested Open by 3 strokes clear of them.
Yeah,
pretty solid golf.
Yeah, Terry shot a 941 in the 942 rated round, tied for second place cash, taking home $40.
Boom. You know what that is, Dana. We need to bring it back. Disc Golf Rich. You got it.
I got a story about Josh Goss. So he previously lived in the Peoria area when I first started playing leagues and eventually tournaments. And I can remember we'd go over to the Peoria Frisbee Club, play their doubles leagues on Sundays in the winter. And I don't know if this was after leagues or something, but I think it was probably me and like John Hoffman, my buddy from Ottawa, and Josh Goss and another local guy. We got into a doubles match after league, or maybe we met up there. I can't remember. It was at Bradley, and I was new to competition and learning how to play and all that. And we stomped on them on the front 9. They were playing bad, just beating on them, and Josh whips out his money after the front 9 and it's like, take this, it's over, take this. And I'm like, no, I don't, and he insists on giving us the money, and them bastards end up beating us and beat us down on the back 9. I had to give that money back, and that, I don't know, that always stuck with me. I think, just to never count, like when you're playing disc golf and when I'm playing tournaments and leagues, never take anything for granted. You have to play all 18 holes or all however many holes. It was Josh Goss that taught me that lesson, and I'm still really upset with myself over, because I was like, no, I don't want the money. Don't give me the money. I'm finally just like, whatever, put it in my pocket. And to have to take it back out of my pocket, give it to him, and then get my wallet out, and give him my money. I just would
have paid him with his money. There you go. Here's the $20. Thanks, and then walked away.
Yeah,
but it was a lesson. It was a lesson learned. Thank you, Josh. Looks like you taught Terry a lesson over the weekend too.
Yeah, I mean, when I opened by going OB on the first hole right off the tee, which you don't progress forward, and I opened with a double bogey, he opens with a birdie, and he's got me by 3 after 1 hole, and then he birdied the next 3 or 4 in a row. And I didn't. I was in a hole very quickly.
The writing was on the wall.
I had 31 holes to go and lots of strokes to make up. But he played, obviously. It was a great play by him all around. All right, Dana, let's there are a number of great topics on the agenda. Jimbo Slice, thanks for the super chat, asked about the Memorial being on the Pro Tour. But before we get into some of the new schedule for 2021, let's quickly recap any of the highlights that you've seen. Johnny's been scrolling a few, thanks to our friends over at the PDGA. We've seen a few results pop up. Any other events, usually we're not covering C-tiers in Illinois, unless it's a great course. But any other, Johnny, anything jump off the screen at you? I see Maine was obviously a Pro Tour stop this weekend. Dana, did you consume any of that action? You see our FPO and MPO winners on that by chance?
Yeah. I was following the scores over the weekend as it was a silver series. I wasn't glued to my phone, with the disc and all that, but definitely had my eye to the east, and 200 plus players out there in Maine for the Maine State Championships, 8 of them in the FPO division, and it was a pretty close battle between Jay Weezy and Sarah Holcomb, and ultimately it was that final round that put Sarah up ahead by 4 throws, but she did that by shooting a 59, 990 rated round to Jay Weezy's 66. So by my math, she beat her by 7. So Sarah she was down 2 going into the final round, and then kind of stepped on Jessica's throat like Josh stepped on yours, Wani. On the men's side, wasn't too much of a battle. the young man from Gainesville, Florida, known as Double G, Garrett Gurthey. Played some really solid disc golf. He got stronger as the weekend went on. It was a 3-round event. He went 10-28, 10-41, 10-57 to put him at 25 under par. Tying for second place, 3 great disc golfers, Terry Roethlisberger, Simon Lizotte, and Thomas Gilbert. Early on in the event, Jason Dorr, a longtime great Maine player, doesn't play a whole lot of events. I can always remember him coming down to Vicich Open and usually playing pretty well down there. But Jason, he played pretty well, ended up in 5th place, but he started out the event right there on the lead card. And ultimately he played 1,000+ rated disc golf all weekend, going 10-28, 10-14, 10-15. He is 1,000 rated, 1,003 right now, but got to give Jason a shout out for holding it down in his home state and playing some solid disc golf. He was only one throw away from that log jam at 2nd place. But congratulations to both Sarah and Double G and the Jamie White and the team out there in Maine for putting on what looked like to be a good event. And I am at some point when I have a minute going to watch some of that footage because I want to see what these Maine courses are all about.
Yeah, and I know on the FPO side,
it looks pretty wooded, those courses.
Yeah, and Disc Golf Network, I believe, has the FPO battle on the Disc Golf Network. So shout out, I think GK Pro and Disc Golf Network were the two.
Which is funny because normally GK Pro has the FPO coverage, and it's not on Disc Golf Network. So now they stepped up and took some of the MPO coverage. Yep. While Disc Golf Network did post-production for FPO, as you were saying.
Awesome. Ron Russell, I know it was great catching up with him personally last year when I was down there, and I saw a great battle unfold on the FPO side of things when I was down there for the final round last year. This event, I think, was scheduled earlier in the year, got postponed back to the date that it was this last weekend. You feel like any surprises there at the Ron Russell Roofing presents the Jacksonville Open?
No, not really. I want to say they were dealing with some rain and heavy wind, maybe some hurricane remnants. So wasn't ideal weather down there. And but yeah, it looked like Johnny McRae was going to run away with things early. Him and Aaron Doyle posted some pretty hot rounds, but then Gavin Rathbun came out the second round, and not quite sure what the weather was doing, but he was just on fire or something. But he beat Johnny by 7 throws, and then I think he might have had he had the lead going into the final round.
He did, yeah.
He would have had it by 3.
Yeah, he had the lead by 3 throws, and the wily veteran Johnny came back, tied Gavin, and they went into a playoff, and Johnny ultimately beat Gavin. But Gavin's been having a heck of a year. Looks like his rating's up to 1019. So really solid golf from the Illinois native. I believe he's calling Florida home right now, at least temporarily. He's in and out of tour. We'll probably see him at a lot of Florida events here, and definitely going to be contending. Alden Harris from Georgia finished in 3rd. Aaron Doyle, who came out pretty hot there those first couple rounds, finished in 4th. We did have Cam Colglazer down there finishing in 5th. On the women's side, Ellen Widboom won the 5-player division over Taylor Kramer. She won by 8 throws, and then speaking of wily veterans, we had a few of them up at the top of the Pro Master field. Mr. Kevin McCoy, he won by 6 throws over Greg Haasfeld. Terry, really quick, what year did Greg Haasfeld win his world championship in the Open division?
I'd have to guess
87?
No. No, 83 would be too soon.
Yeah, that's too
That'd be
early.
like Duvall. Yeah, 86 or 87 sound about right. I doubt it. '89 would have been Greenwell, I feel like. The last one to win it before Climo started. Somewhere in those late 80s. 87 sounds like a good guess by Johnny.
I'm going with
87.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounded like a good guess to me.
I believe he won it in a playoff up in Canada, if my poor memory serves me correctly. But anyways.
He did against Michael Sullivan.
With Cup just a stroke behind them.
Yep.
Wow.
Tight battle back in 87. The year my brother was born. Matt Peckham finished in third place there. So congratulations to all the players there. Now Terry, you were there last year. Was it an Ellen and Elaine playoff?
It was, yes. They took it into OT and Ellen and Elaine, and it was on the first because I think they started the playoff. I had filmed their entire round, and there's some people just kind of hanging out and talking, and all of a sudden, like, I turn, and if I recall, they like had started the playoff, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I should be there filming. I just filmed your whole round, and without, if I recall, that's how it went down, and Ellen ended up taking it down in a very exciting, dramatic finish there on, I believe, the second hole. But yeah, so Ellen, back-to-back champ, or should I say defending champion there in Jacksonville. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Congratulations to her and Johnny, everybody else over there. Man, there were a ton of events this last week.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I'm looking just at 5, we'll say, of the biggest events, all being A tiers, ranging from Maine to Florida to Kentucky, New Jersey, and Utah.
Yeah, Utah was the one that was big, the Western A tier. Everybody else kind of stuck around the East Coast area. With USDGC coming up and Jonesboro coming up, it makes sense now to have, this is the time of season when we get everybody over on the East Coast.
So let's quickly touch on a few of those other ones before we get to some of the 2021 action. Johnny pulled up Stafford Open. Johnny, read us the top couple finishers there.
Stafford Open in Voorhees, New Jersey. The winner of this one was Michael Joe, shooting 33 under par, besting Andrew Fish and Matt Bell. Fourth place was Chris Villa. Fifth place, longest name in disc golf, Cameron Messerschmidt. Open women, taking this one, was Missy Gannon. 3 strokes over Lisa Fakis. Happy birthday, Lisa,
yes,
by the way.
Happy birthday.
And
happy
2 strokes.
Lisa, it's your birthday. So, gosh.
I was just going to let you go, Dana.
Yeah, keep it going.
Please. And then in third place in the FPO field was Holly Finley. Fourth place, Michelle Frazier. Fifth place, Cassandra Loy.
All right. So that's some of the action. And what did we see out on the West? Please, Corey Sharp. I'm going to just throw out the name. I haven't looked at the results. Did Corey Sharp play, and did he finish well? Somebody give it to me.
The answer is no.
Oh, was it an amateur event? Oh, it was an amateur A tier.
Amateur event, T.
All right. I thought it was a pro.
You know who did play good on the West Coast? Scott Withers.
Shocking.
No surprise, right?
Scott Withers dominated another Oregon or Pacific Northwest tournament, but this time he popped the 1100 rated round.
Dang.
Yeah, pretty.
Do you have any details? Any of the deets?
Nah. No details.
Okay.
That guy's good at disc golf in Oregon, playing C and B tiers. Really good.
I was going to say go ahead. Go ahead, Dana.
I was going to say, there's an A tier, the 12th annual Madisonville Open. Chris Dickerson stepped on some throats, won by 15 throws over Emerson Keith. A name I haven't seen out there in a minute. Looks like he's moved from the St. Louis area. Finished in third place, Justin Bonnell.
Great bowler.
Great bowler, former touring professional. Huge arm, had a cannon. Really, really good disc golfer. But yeah, Justin, looks like he's out of Tennessee now and 1,005 rating. Luke Sampson finished in fourth. Zachariah finished in fifth. And my dude, Shasta Chris, threw it down in the Pro Masters division. There was no FPO division, unfortunately. But congratulations to those winners there.
We'll jump right over to Greenville, North Carolina for the Basket Bashers presents the Down East Players Cup. This is where a lot of the, everyone's kind of a big name, but you see some of the top names in our sport, the best-known names. Ricky Wysocki, Coling, Yulee, Dan Hastings, Nathan Queen. No surprise, Ricky takes this one. He shoots 33 under par, basically 1070, 1058, 1056, beating Nathan Queen by 6 strokes. And I have to wonder, Nathan Queen getting warmed up for USDGC. We saw him last year have a pretty solid showing. He's a lefty. That course tends to favor some of our lefties, so it's exciting to see his name up at the top there. Ulibarri shoots a 22 under par. Coling shoots a 21 under, and then followed by Dan Hastings. So we go down to the Open women, and the ageless wonder. She just keeps racking up wins. She don't care. Elaine King, PDGA 3090, the GOAT. What was that?
It said Yas King.
Yas King. She shoots a 964, a 907, and a 902 to win by what appears to be 7 strokes over Emily Garner. Congratulations, Emily, on the board. We know she's hanging out watching. Tied with Emily was Deanne Carey. And, Pro Masters looks like, again, I'm not going to call him an ageless wonder because that guy's aging like you wouldn't believe. Brian Schweberger, good friend of the show, Schwebby. That's why we can say that. But, demolishing the field. There's stepping on someone's throat. And then if you watch, if you have Amazon Prime and you watch The Boys, it's a very graphic and gory show. And let me just say, Schweberger is
one of the boys.
Schweberger's crushing people. So he won by 17 strokes over Jeff White, shooting 1021, 1049, 1040. That guy, he just never quits. So
nice.
That was the Basket Bashers.
Yeah,
all right.
They had a putting competition. What's it called? Like 2020, not so bad, or 20. I don't know, something 2020. But the winner took home $2,020, and Dan Hastings.
Yes.
Ended up taking that. Looked like some pretty exciting stuff. And if you know Dan Hastings, that boy can putt, and that's nothing new. I remember seeing him first come up after losing Am Worlds on his home turf in the final 9, and watching him play that next year on the pro division. His backhand wasn't very good, strong sidearm, but his putting was so good, and he's a really good putter.
And as they say, how important putting is, just to put it in perspective, Dan Hastings won $500 for his 5th place finish, but took home $2,020 in the putting competition. So pays to know how to putt.
Cody's saying there was also a skins match as well, filmed by Gatekeeper. So keep your eyes out on that on Gatekeeper's site.
And then
there was some really juicy really juicy blow up on the lead card final round that we'll see what gets edited out. So that's Gatekeeper, Johnny?
That's apparently Gatekeeper on the skin. So, if that's in there, make sure to keep that in.
That would be incredible. The Disc Golf Ledger, thanks for the super chat, has also chimed in saying Stafford Open final round was filmed by Gatekeeper. Average rating on the card was 1050. Going to be awesome coverage. So I don't know if Gatekeeper just has a dozen places to be and can cover multiple events in one weekend, but maybe they are. So we'll see. Awesome. All right, Dana, and thank you to all of our super chatters and everyone chiming in. We got some of the regulars and some beautiful faces we haven't seen in a while, like Seth from Disc Golf Strong, along with Ace Run. And I think we're going to have an Ace Run Productions segment a little later tonight that we're going to be able to play for you guys. So, Dana, moving into the other big news besides all of the play this weekend, just announced yesterday, not to be confused with all the secrets we can't tell about that are coming up tomorrow, but just announced yesterday, scheduling and the national tour schedule, or the Elite Series tour of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Obviously, some of our majors have already been in place, but scheduling posts were made left and right yesterday, all over the place. It's exciting. First of all, it's September, and I feel like everybody's ready to be done with 2020 in some form or another, hoping that 2021 has a much clearer path to fun and normalcy. But normalcy.
She can do either.
Pretty crazy. There's big events almost every weekend, and has professional disc golf tour life. Have we fully arrived? Are we there? Have we been there?
If we haven't been there, we're inching towards that. It's certainly, seeing that schedule. If you're a touring pro, you got to be licking your chops because there's a ton of events. You can take a weekend off and it's okay because there's a huge event the next weekend, whether it's on the national tour or it's a disc golf pro tour. And I don't even think that the Silver Series pro tour events were listed on there. So that's going to be a whole nother set of high quality events, not to mention the long standing or the new A tiers that are going to be popping up throughout the country. So it's a good time to be a disc golfer. It's a good time to be a professional disc golfer. I'm trying to think of the big news aside from just the schedule being posted. It's got to be the status of the Memorial.
I think so.
Yeah, probably. I think that's the number one discussion point. Jimbo brought it up earlier, and it kind of jumped off the page, I think, for a lot of people as to the Disc Golf Pro Tour specifically is now going to have the Las Vegas Challenge on not only on their schedule, but it will be the opener for the Disc Golf Pro Tour in 2021. The Memorial, which has, of course, been an opener either for the National Tour or the Pro Tour for the last 18 years.
Yeah, since 2003,
17 or 18 years. And this year in 2021 is not going to be the case. And it looks like instead we're going to be officially opening in Vegas. And I guess I'd love your input because
pour one out for the Memorial.
It feels like Vegas and the Memorial have kind of jockeyed back and forth throughout the last few years as to, what series it's part of, but then also how imperative is it to the players to get their season kicked off. And I guess I'd then throw it over to you, which is, does this impact what our players are going to do? Are we going to still see them at both events probably?
I think it's going to take some of the, I don't want to say pressure off of a lot of players to be at both because there's not Pro Tour or National Point Tour points up for grabs at the Memorial. So it's not as much pressure. So you could come in and, I'd say most of our big names will probably play some sort of A tier or B tier prior to Vegas and then dive into Vegas. And then, it's probably going to be a pretty good split of who goes to the Memorial and who doesn't. I would imagine it's still going to be a Discraft event, so we'll likely see a lot of the big names and a lot of the Discraft players and a lot of those hungry competitors that have been working out and practicing all winter. They're going to be eager to play in it, but maybe some of the veterans that are looking at the big picture, they're not going to feel the need to get out there and play. What is it, 5-6 rounds in a really short amount of time right off the bat. So that'll be something interesting to see if we see lesser attendance at the Memorial. But I'm kind of bummed. It's the Memorial. It's always felt like the tour starter. And you mentioned 18 years, and I'm thinking back. Basically, since I started playing tournaments, that was always the start of the tournament scene for the year.
It's really been a unique event in that every time that I've gone has been, it feels like a family reunion. Mm-hmm. And that's not just because it's the first event. It's just that everybody's coming together. It always had kind of a unique environment in that it had a central location like Duke's. For the longest time, Duke's was this place where everybody got together and hung out. Hasn't been the case for the last couple of years. It has felt I will say it has felt a little less I don't say family oriented, but it hasn't had that same camaraderie that we've seen in the past. It has been a little bit more about the competition and a little bit less about the everybody hanging out and playing and having fun. And I don't know if that's a sign that our sport is maturing, that everyone's not going there just to kind of hang out and have some drinks and a salad at Duke's, and yeah, you play some golf, and the stakes are higher now. And it's hard to put into words exactly what the Memorial has meant for a lot of people for a lot of years.
Just to piggyback on that, and Dana, maybe you can attest to this, I think what has also maybe happened in that sense is the event has grown and has even almost bulged at some points, when they went to 3 courses and they were offering 400, 500, 600 spots. And with that many spots and that many people available to play, there no longer was an opportunity for one central location because you had so many people, but everyone was kind of sprawling out and you had multiple courses over multiple days. And I feel like just by nature of its own growth, that's what kind of spread people out. Whereas, 10 or 15 years ago, there were less players at the event, and therefore being all in one location felt a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And so maybe that is some of it. I know I talked to Keith yesterday. He's still pumped. They're still planning on being obviously a large-scale event. Discraft is still going to be your title sponsor. I expect a ton of our top players to still be there. He does still love the format of our pros playing the first 2 rounds at Fountain and then the final 2 rounds over at Vista, like we've seen the last few years. So I think they're going to have a lot of those things, but they're also excited to say, well, maybe there's a little less pressure on us in terms of the worldwide national or the worldwide scale. And now we can have a few more MP40s and FP40s, and they can give a few more of those spots open because it had so many open spots, 144, I want to say, just on MPO. And now some of those spots that were being previously reserved for featuring just the best of the best, now we're going to have a little bit more diversity again. And maybe that'll bring back some of those feels. But
and then also I would assume it may be some silver lining. I'm not sure how it all shook out, but it's probably got to feel good to not have that pressure of being, answering to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, answering to the PDJ for the National Tour, and having, they can maybe do some things that they've wanted to do or try or go back to, or there's more freedom and more breathing room, and it, maybe it's a good thing for the staff. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Sure.
But it maybe gives them some breathing room to relax and do things a little bit differently. And like you said, get some more of those age protected divisions and maybe do some different things out on the course and not have, Steve Dodge or Jeff Spring or Michael Downs or whomever telling them do this, do that. It's on them.
Well, yeah, and as we were just saying, I think they're excited about having, like I said, more spots for more divisions, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. That they're taking it very seriously, that they enjoy hosting the event. And there was another thought that totally just slipped my mind that I was going to say about it. I don't recall what it was, but if it comes back to me, I'll chime back in with it. I don't remember what it was. It's driving me crazy.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, hey, maybe we can go and play.
We can wait.
Oh, yeah, just sit here and wait till the thought. It's so crazy that I had a really good thought that was right there at the tip of my tongue. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared.
If it was that good, you would have remembered it. No, I think it would be nice to see the Memorial show up as, it's probably going to still be an A-tier event, more than likely. I know the A-tiers haven't been announced, and then next year they announced that there's actually, I think, only going to be 100 A-tiers.
Oh, wow.
In the schedule. They're really looking for quality and not quantity for the A-tier events. It's hard to believe that the Memorial would not be an A-tier, just based on its history and the fact that it's almost like
payouts,
the great payouts, the great sponsor support, the great running of it, all that great stuff. To emphasize the word great, it's I have to believe that it's going to be at least an A tier, and it's going to get some pretty good turnout because, as we see, it's right between Vegas and Waco. So you're going to see, or is it Vegas and Texas states?
Vegas and Texas. Vegas and Waco.
Vegas and Waco and then Texas. Okay. Yeah. So, you've got it's a couple-hour drive, and it would be an easy stop. I think you'll probably see maybe, if I had to take a guess, some of your top players skip out on it. Some of the big-name players that don't necessarily hit these A tiers. But you're going to see a lot of these grinders hit them. Your people like your AJ Risley, Zach Melton, all those guys that want to hit every tour stop and kind of need to make the tour worthwhile. This is perfect for them. This is what we want to see in a tour. These big A tiers right in line with our Elite Series tour stops.
Yeah. And my thought came back to me, folks.
Oh boy!
Let's hope it was worth
not
remembering it
at this point.
No, what I'll say now that the news is roughly 24 hours or 20 some hours old, it's been interesting seeing the feedback. I feel like I've read just as many people say, "Good, I'm glad it's gone. It was a boring Heiser fest. It was too easy. Yeah. We've outgrown the courses." I hear all of that and see all of that feedback, and there's equally the same amount of people saying, "Oh, I really like it. It's very viewer friendly. It's a great place for our players to warm up and to get the swing of the season. It's got great weather, and it's good to either be there on site or it's easy to watch on TV or on video." So I feel like the reaction has been almost a perfect split, which I would expect in disc golf. 50% love it, 50% hate it. But that's the reaction that I've seen is, everybody listing all the good things and then the exact opposite listing all the bad things, or why they're okay with it. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm expecting a good event, and Keith and the crew, I'm sure will deliver.
I'll throw it to you in a second here, Dana. I just want to say there's so many people that are saying how we've outgrown those courses.
Mm-hmm. Even on the board.
I kind of feel that way about Fountain. Like, it feels like Fountain is... As we know, Fountain, you need to be very accurate with your putting. You need to be very accurate with your driving, or you're going to end up in the drink. Nobody wants to end up in that drink. And we see scores like 12 to 14 down. But for my taste, I think still Vista holds up. I think it still holds up as a pretty gosh darn tough course. It's just that the main driving factor here is that you can't close the park. It's such a huge park. There's almost virtually no way for you to close it within our capability, and it becomes slightly dangerous for the competitors and the spectators and the viewers. And so take that. It would be hard to run this event now without Fountain Hills. Like, we've tried Fiesta Lake, and that didn't really work out. There are some other courses, but Vista, man, I still think it's a great course. I still think it holds up. And people that are complaining about the Heiser Olympics or just a Heiser Fest or whatever you want to call it, you're going to get that a week earlier in Vegas. I think the Vegas is nice. It's a great spot to have an event, but let's not fool ourselves and think that you're seeing a lot of wooded golf or a lot of turnover shots or Vegas is a power course. That is a thrower's course. You agree with Dana?
Yeah, definitely. Power at both events definitely helps Vegas with the long smashes, and then going to the Memorial and being able to throw your, say, fairway drivers on Heisers versus some of the players that don't have the power throwing flex shots or whatever with high speed stuff. So yeah, it's early season. The power shines through.
Well, that's what we're seeing. It is going to be very exciting to see. I think we're going to still have a very stout field. I know one of the major points for Keith, in talking to him yesterday, he said he's super excited that so many international players come over to enjoy the weather, to enjoy the beginning of the season, and having some flexibility with making sure a lot of the international players find their spot into the event is something that specifically excites him as well. And I love that. I mean, those are things that we don't all necessarily think about day to day at your typical event. And we'll just say maybe at at an event like the Great Lakes Open, they're not as concerned about, oh, what's our influx of international players going to be like here? It's just not as much of a concern as you have in February at the Memorial. So looking forward to all of it. And Mo is going to argue with all of us here and say it. And he said that he did an entire podcast on this.
He said you were quoted on that, by the way, in that podcast. You're the first ever guest he did on that podcast. So
yeah, it was a really good one. No, he said he did an entire podcast about how our players, this isn't a course that, these aren't courses that are for where our players are at in the professional realm right now. So if you want to go,
I disagree with him on Vista, but that's for what it is. Andrew Streeter kind of mirrors my point, saying that these courses, Vegas and the Memorial, are perfect starts to the season. Like I've said it forever that if you follow the season, it's really great that you start out, the players are still they're getting their feet under them. You're seeing them with a lot of power and open courses. Towards middle of the season, you kind of get a little bit of mix of that, more open but more OB. And then towards the end of the season, you're seeing a lot more wooded courses. So that's kind of how our season flows. And I think that Vegas is going to give you the same type of warm-up that Memorial will. So I'm excited. My only downside I will say about the Vegas courses is I can't think of a single memorable hole out there, like an iconic hole. Like, to me, someone said, I love hole 18 there. I can't picture it. And maybe it's because I haven't taken in a lot of Vegas. It's not necessarily, it's one of the newer, we'll say, venues that we've seen. So I don't have those iconic holes. Whereas I can picture every single hole at the Memorial, not only because I've been there, played it, covered it for many, many, many years, but there's just some really cool iconic holes at Vista and Fountain Hills, both of them. Whether it's hole 18 at Fountain, whether it's the pond hole at Vista, the gunite hole, the one up along hole 10 or 11, depending on what it is, along the pine trees. I mean, there's just some really iconic holes that unfortunately we're going to be missing out on the big pro tour. But as somebody else said, I think, was it Sam Martin? So someone said that they're still possibly looking to have some live coverage. So we'll see. We'll talk about that.
We know some guys.
I know some guys that can do some live coverage.
Dana might.
Dana does.
Dana. We'll have Dana get out there.
Get me in trouble.
All right, Dana. So that's what we saw. I'm just going to say this now, and I don't know how much you're in the loop or not. As of here, Tuesday night, unfortunately, Johnny and I, we have inside knowledge and secrets about some international announcements, as well as in a few, in what is it, 10 or 12 days or so, we're also going to see the USDGC immediately following the Jonesboro event, and we're going to have some announcements about the USDGC coverage and details as that's going to unfold and get released tomorrow. So we can't share too much of that right now. But
I will say, keep your eyes out tomorrow morning for some big announcements.
Okay. Yes, that's
all we can say.
It is. So Dana, how let's postulate a little on the next 3 weeks, just in case we don't have you back on the show over the next 3 weeks.
We put him back in the penalty box.
Let's talk. Jonesboro. It's next week is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They made sure to, obviously that's delayed from April, and it got pushed to now, and they're ending it on Saturday, so people have yet another day to travel on Sunday, and then just 3 or so days later on Wednesday we start USDGC. Turn that around 3 or 4 days later to have the Pro Tour Championships. What goes through your mind when we think about those next 3 events?
Well, for Jonesboro, I think of who's on the bubble of making the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships or finals, and who's going to go, who's not going to go, and how that'll all shake out. And then with USDGC, start to think of, who's been playing, who's hot, who's not, maybe who's due, and start to think about who my picks are going to be. Obviously, Ricky has been playing really well lately. He's coming off a win this weekend, although he wasn't able to seal the deal at the MVP Open. Paul Macbeth played some tremendous disc golf, overcame some stuff there. will Paul, get that? Paul's won at Winthrop, but will he get that? I feel like he still has a monkey on his back there. It's not always treated him well. But is this going to be a year where he goes out and, not to say it again, steps on some throat? But and then we've got Chris Dickerson. I feel like his season has been a little quiet. We've seen him coming off a lot of chase cards at the Disc Golf Pro Tour with some strong finishes, but he keeps sprinkling in a lot of poor rounds here or there that take him out of contention. And then, Nate Sexton. I believe I don't see a world where Nate Sexton is not at the USDGC. It's going to be great to see him back. And then jumping over to the women's side, we've got a women's national championship on the line at Winthrop as well. So I'm super pumped about that, to see the women take that on. I think I looked a little earlier. There's just about 40 women signed up. The only bummer is we're going to be missing. We're going to be missing, I think, all of our international players, which is a real bummer, because there's, obviously Kristen won it last year, and then we've got Henna and
Evelina.
They're contenders. So it's really stinks for them to not be able to play that premier women's event, and then to play at Winthrop was quite an opportunity, or is quite an opportunity. And so it kind of stinks about that. But yeah, we're already seeing a lot of players there practicing, and it's hard to believe that it's almost USDGC time. And,
and Dana, maybe
finally,
you can elaborate on the on just the fact that this is our one major of the year. Of course, World Championships, we'll say Pro World, MPO, FPO, World Championships, kind of, I felt like, hung on to the last moment of being able to decide if they could either postpone it or even have it at all. Ultimately, of course, postponed, so we'll be in Utah next year. But then the USDGC being that lone championship late in the year, or the lone major late in the year, and then
so whoever gets this gets the Grand Slam.
Yeah, they
right?
get the
they get the full,
this is the walk-off. This is the walk-off homer version.
Just like Macbeth with the 5, majors.
I mean, you won them all.
Sweeping them. You're sweeping them this year.
But in seriousness, huge shout-out, tip of the hat to the PDGA and Innova and Winthrop and everyone for then stepping up to be able to host the U.S. Women's Nationals. Like you said, of course, void of our international competitors, but the fact that the women have a major this year, and I know this is kind of old news, but we're ramping up into the excitement of, hey, it's you got one major this year. Who's going to go out and earn it, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be. I'm really excited to watch that and to see, see how Paige attacks it and how many birdies she can get, and if she can minimize, the mistakes where Winthrop can really you can throw some big numbers and big rounds out there, but if you're on like Paige gets on, like she was on today, she was posting on social media, she played a cash round with Yuli, Perkins, maybe Germ, but she won, shot 7 down on the back 9. Tremendous disc golf obviously there, but when you're attacking there, it does open up. It doesn't open up the scorecard to some big numbers. So you think about someone like Sarah Holcomb, who can really dissect a course, comes in with a game plan, is generally going to be. Would it be safe to say she's a little more conservative, or she's conservative when she needs to be?
I just feel like she very much plays within her game plan, sticks to her game plan, and I don't feel like she tries to overextend herself too often, and that just minimizing those mistakes can result in solid finishes and performances for her. Where we openly see Paige discuss how aggressive she can be. And sometimes that bites her. She might throw it 500 feet, but when she goes out of bounds 3 feet, the final 3 feet, she's still taking the same score as Sarah, who pitched up the fairway with a lot less power. So, Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, also worth noting, and I know I don't want to get too far ahead of the caddy books, that I think they're going to release both MPO and FPO separate caddy books, understandably, because 6 or 7 is what Jonathan Poole was telling us today, that 6 or 7 of the holes will have different tees for the FPO field. So, and I know Kona posted on her Instagram account tonight. Hole 14 has like a really cool, I think she said it was 14, had a totally different elevated tee area for hole 14, even though I keep thinking that would have been 13. So,
maybe she was wrong.
Yeah, that's possible. Either way, it looked like 13 maybe. There was a totally different elevated tee area for that hole, the infamous 888 hole. So. So it'll be cool. Jonathan said they've been working really hard. Obviously, we know the championship does everything top notch. So it'll be great to see what they've established for the FPO field out there. And Dana, we get the jar out, because you and me and Johnny and anyone else that speaks of the event, the line now is the Winthrop Arena. It is the Winthrop Arena,
not to be referred to as the Winthrop Gold. Is Winthrop Arena.
And definitely don't call it the Maple Hill Diamond Course either. That would be incorrect also. I hope to not make that slip up at any point. Just because there's diamond and gold, and we were just there as well.
I was so lost as to where you're going.
That's something I would do, though. Welcome to the Maple Hill Diamond Course. Okay. All right. Who makes mistakes?
You're going to be talking? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So, speaking of talking.
He skipped right over that.
Speaking of talking, as the board is lighting up, part of what I think we're going to see over on the Fulcrum broadcast, Philo and Ian Anderson calling the shots.
Yeah, Ian was on a podcast, the Disc Golf podcast, I think, where he spilled some beans as far as what some of the USDGC's plans were, apparently. So I only because I know I don't feel comfortable saying it. I haven't listened to the podcast, but what Ray is saying on the board, Ray Zerhusen, is saying that he is that those are your commentators this upcoming USDGC, which is different. In the past we've seen Jamie Thomas and Hannah Macbeth do commentating. So having Ian and Philo, who've been doing a ton of post production and have a really good rapport with each other, I'm really excited to see that for a number of reasons.
Dana, where was your call? Why aren't you in there?
Oh boy, you don't want to hear me on there. But yeah, I do like those guys. They do a good job. They work off each other really well. I do enjoy Jamie. He brings experience and professionalism to it all, and can really direct the conversation and take things where it needs to go. So I will miss Jamie in that aspect, but I'm I don't want to say former, but I don't watch as much disc golf as I used to, but a Central Coast junkie, and love Ian, and him and Philo do good work together. And man, Philo, I want to say he had a top 10 finish last year at USDGC. So I mean, to kind of walk away from the competitive side to pick up the microphone is kind of big news.
I agree. Philo, who has really, I don't want to say tried to prove himself, but Philo, I think, out this year to make sure that everyone knows he's as good as we all think that he is on the course.
Yeah.
And he's had a pretty solid year. Hasn't taken down necessarily any major or really big wins, but has had very solid performances. And I was kind of surprised myself to see him
for being an East Coast event. It's going to have a very West Coast vibe to it with Ian and Philo. Both those guys, super relaxed, very chill. Not usually what I'm used to seeing do a live broadcast. Traditionally, you want someone like a Jamie Thomas or a Terry, who can really steer a show. And, when there's graphics brought up or stats and stuff like that, I don't feel like either of those guys are big stats guys. I mean, Ian always is really prepared with like players' discs and information on the course. And I know that I'm sure working with that Fulcrum crew, they're going to be super prepared for everything and anything that comes at them. But I'm really interested to see the vibe of what they put out as a live broadcast team.
I think it's going to be pretty mellow, if I had to guess.
You think?
Which I'm excited. Yeah, definitely excited. And also coming in off the board, some hot news saying that there's a proclamation out there that Hannah Macbeth and Juliana Korver may be calling the shots on the FPO side.
How does our board know more than us?
Well, or we have to play like they do.
How does our board know more than us?
They're so smart. Dana, that's a combo. 5-time world champ and Hannah Macbeth, married to a 5-time world champ.
Yeah, a lot of championships in their two households. But yeah, I'm interested. Can you guys remember or comment on any Juliana's prior commentating experiences? What can we expect from her? Is I assume Hannah's probably going to lead the show, just judging on Hannah's experience that I know of. But where's JK? What can we expect from her?
Where I'll chime in the fact that when I ran into Juliana in a very random fashion at an airport a few years ago, as she was going to an assignment, I was coming back from a tournament. She seemed in tune with what was going on. I don't think she is, although we see her in her frisbee freestyling world.
I think she stepped out for a few years, but then probably about 2 or 3 years ago, she really is starting to step back into disc golf.
Yeah, so she was in tune with what was going on. She had complimentary things to say of the live broadcasting at the time, and that was a few years ago. So her keeping up and knowing what's going on, she's a very well-rounded, very smart individual. And then the fact, there was a few years ago, I think her and Crazy John may be on some VHS somewhere, calling some shots or some plays somewhere. I believe that would be a case. I'm sure there's some historian out there that could verify that.
Hannah's just like Crazy John.
Some of that. So
I love you, Hannah.
No, I was saying John Houck, but if you want to throw out Crazy John, did I say?
I think you said Crazy John.
I apologize. What I'm recalling is Juliana at some point doing some commentary, maybe alongside John Houck.
Okay, that's different.
But she might have done it with Crazy John too. For all we know.
That's totally different then. Yes.
And Hannah is still like Crazy John though.
No,
is Hannah more like Crazy John or John Houck, Dana?
Come on, man.
Hannah's about as tall as John Houck. Maybe taller. That's what I'll give her.
Okay. Either way. So yeah, that should be a great combo to watch and to listen to as well. And I think it's awesome. We're gonna have a dedicated FPO team and a dedicated MPO team. Not that I don't feel like it needs to happen, but the fact that it is I think going to be great.
I think we don't need it, but it's better.
There you go. Dana,
what else you got, Dana? What's new in Dana's world?
Aside from me being up past my bedtime.
Yeah, this is your first broadcast from the new digs. I don't know if we talked, if we said that. You're currently in your basement. Is that right?
Yep. We got a partially unfinished section and then a finished section, small room. So I'm hiding out down here because at the beginning of the show there was a screaming child going to bed that would have been in the background. So yeah, things are good. I'm a couple minutes from a really nice course in a beautiful park, the Oaks in Mokina. It's like 4 minutes away or so. And actually I went through a few holes tonight. I tested out a few new Discmania discs, but yeah, just been diving into family, work, and we're still unpacking. I don't know if you guys have ever moved. I don't know if you ever moved in the middle of a pandemic, but it's been a long few months, as I alluded to earlier. But yeah, we still got boxes to take care of, and house is slightly bigger, so trying to fill up some of those empty spaces, but not fill them up too quickly to further empty the bank accounts. But yeah, things are good on my end.
Yeah, and then your wife Ashley, in the teaching arena. How are things going for her and adapting and everything that she has to do? And how different is it from how she closed out last school year until versus how, say, this school year has come about for her?
Yeah, good question. Very, very different from last year to this year, partially because she's gone from high school to junior high in two different, schools and school districts. So she's teaching junior high art now, and that's kind of I'd say it's a pretty challenging thing. Teaching online, teaching on a computer, Zoom, whatever, Google, it's difficult. To teach art on there, I think, is even more so. So it's been a challenge. Her school is going to be going back to in person second week of October. So she's got a routine down now, and in a couple of weeks that's going to change. That'll be interesting to see. I'm hopeful that everything goes smooth. But I don't really have any other. I don't really want to go on the record otherwise. But yeah, and then my kids are. Edith was supposed to start kindergarten, but we opted to pull her out because she got a late summer birthday, and so doing the 5 hours a day on a computer for a 5-year-old was too much. So she's we've got a really nice church down the street that does preschool, daycare, and they have a kindergarten program. So we've got Edith and Lucy. They just started there a few weeks ago. So we've got them going there now. And for me, that's been really nice because since March, I work from home. So since March, I've had company while trying to work. So I don't care where I'm at. If I'm in the basement, hiding in a bathroom, hiding in a corner, the moment I pick up a phone, say, "Hey, Keith Murray, how you doing? Well, how's your Dysmania stock?" "Dad, I gotta poop." "Dad, did you smell my fart?" They come over, or they yell, or they scream, or they say funny things about going to the bathroom. But so yeah, I've been enjoying a little bit of peace during the day, and actually working during the day. Not having to juggle family and everything during those working hours.
That's really funny. My for those of you at home that know, I have a special needs daughter, and she's 9 years old now. And whenever she poops, doesn't matter, I hear from anywhere in the house, "Woohoo, Dad, I pooped." I'm like, "That's awesome, honey. Just wipe up and do all
keep her moving."
Yeah, keep her moving. Let's we don't need to elaborate on that. Just wash your hands and do all that fun stuff, and we'll come back and we'll play some more. But it doesn't matter every time. It's a cheer and an announcement.
I mean, that's why the only reason I still call you every day.
Well, yeah, just to let me know. Thanks, Tara. Much appreciated.
Yeah, and if there's one thing, I think we can all agree, if that's certainly one thing in general that's been normalized here in 2020 is everyone's background and lifestyle noises that are now just becoming part of phone calls. Like you say, Danny, you'd love that quiet, peaceful area to go get your work done. But more often than not, when you call just about anyone these days, you're hearing more of their family members or more of the things going on in the background, or their bird chirping or whatever it might be, because everyone's taking calls in different places these days. And maybe that's not such a good thing. We're all humanizing a little bit more.
Everybody understands what everybody's going through,
for the most part.
Yeah. I got to the point where I wouldn't even apologize. I would say, "Hold on a second, I've got to talk to. I've got to take care of something," and come back and say, my family's at home, my kids are at home. Everybody understood. Where previously it would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my kids are blah blah blah," but now now it's okay. But
it is.
It still is nice to have the peace and quiet, and then to tell Alexa to play the radio in the background, and not have a child come and tell Alexa to play Girls Just Want to Have Fun for the 100th time in a day. So
yeah, now I have to plan my kids who are going to school more so on Thursdays and Fridays. I have to plan commentary and a few of those things, hoping that they're away at school for those couple of days. So now it's just a matter of shifting your schedule around for when you think you're going to have that peace and quiet, but we'll see. All right, Dana, before we let you go, any big hugs, anything you want to say or mention or make note of before we send you off here and let you get back to your nightlife and call it a night for yourself?
I don't really. I just want to give. I want to throw big hugs out to everybody out on the West Coast that have been affected by the fires, whether they're disc golfers or not. It's been a crazy year, and to throw some fires on top of that, it had to been tough for everybody out there. So hope all my friends out on the West Coast are doing well. East Coast, I missed you. East Coast is always my favorite tour. Smashies Tuesday nights haven't been the same for me for the last couple of months. Maybe we can get back to some normalcy, but for now I'll hop in when I can and when I'm feeling it and awake. And Terry and Johnny, big hugs to you too for having me on. Thank you. It's great to see you. And Terry, if you come to Illinois one more time and you don't stop by my house, we're gonna have problems.
All your daughter's announcements scare me. I'm not coming near your house.
He's afraid that Terry's going to walk in the house and he'd be like, "Oh, nice to meet. Where did Dana go?" And Dana's just gone to the course and Terry's babysitting
I
now.
got to step in now. Well, we love you, buddy. We're glad to catch up. It has been a long time, but we know you're out there working your hustle and everybody's just trying to adjust with everything going on this year. So anytime you got some insights and as things move into our off season, when you're available, we'd love to catch up with you a little bit more often. We appreciate it.
For sure. We got an exciting couple weeks coming up here, so I hope to get on and dissect some of that with you. But if not, I'm thinking of you guys on Tuesdays and Smashies. It's good to see you again. Terry, Johnny, have a good night.
Good night, Dana.
All right. Love you, buddy. See ya. And, of course, our good buddy, Dana Vicich, throwing out some big hugs appropriately. And
now that he's off, I feel free saying this. He is one of the nicest guys I know.
Oh, come on. That's true.
I don't want to say it when he's on because, he might get a big head.
Yeah.
Even though he can probably still hear us.
It is great. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys have been clamoring. Where's Dana and where's our updates from some other the events around? And lately, it's been so great to immediately get to our winners because there's been so much excitement happening on the tour, and then we jump right into our winners on Tuesdays.
And on top of that, it's East Coast stuff. So it's always an hour after us in Central. So when we go live at 9 o'clock Central time, it's already 10 o'clock there. And it is, so getting them on immediately is kind of paramount for us. So because they might not necessarily be night owls like us. It's just weird.
Well,
what we do have, I think is where you were going with this. Sorry, Terry. Thanks to Ace Run Productions, we have our one disc, one tip clip with Dave Felberg. And if you know Dave, and I know you know Dave, Terry, and I know Dave, I wouldn't call him succinct. He doesn't get to the point. So this clip here that we have is just over 4 minutes. So I want everyone to sit back, relax, listen to Dave Felberg do his one disc, one tip, and we will be right back with you in 4 minutes and 28 seconds.
See you then.
Hey everybody, it's Felix with Ace Run Productions. We are back with our one disc, one tip segment. Today we've got, oh boy, world champion, US champion, Grandmaster world champion, NADGT tour director. I could be here all day naming titles of what this man has done. The legendary Dave Felberg.
Thanks, Felix. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for taking the time to film this segment with us.
Yeah.
You're a wealth of knowledge and experience. How long have you been playing this sport?
I've only been playing 25 years.
Oh, just starting, okay.
But, not like some of the guys like, well, 47 years, something like that, But I've been playing 25 years, and I consider myself, I played since the beginning of what I call the modern age of disc golf.
So with all that wealth and knowledge you've seen and thrown a lot of plastic out there, if you could pick one disc that's currently in your bag now that can help anybody regardless of skill level, what disc would that be?
Well, yeah, playing for Infinite Disc these days, and one of the ones they sent me was the Exodus. It's a nice fairway driver. It kind of flies similar to a T-Bird TL. And I thought that, for most people, I like it because it feels that grippy stickness that you like in the old Star plastic, and it's got a small rim. And I think if you're looking for the Infinite Disc, if you get the Exodus and the fairway driver, I think you could try the iBlend, or you could try, some of the other blends. But I think that just know that the iBlends and those are less stable, and as you move into the metal flake, they get more stable.
Well, switching gears, you taking that knowledge again, if you could think of one tip that you think can make an impact in anybody through their rec all the way up to pro level, what tip do you think that would be?
Well, I would probably give 2 tips.
Okay.
Because, it's tough. If you're a beginner and you haven't played much, I would say stop buying new discs.
Okay.
That's my number one thing that I see traveling all over the world is people that buy new discs and they either don't like them or they end up not playing because they don't get the results they're looking for. And I think if you start with a used disc, it'll be a lot better for you. And the reason for that is that a used disc is going to tilt a little bit and then come back because it's broken in. And if you buy a disc that tilts right away, then it just tilts. And as soon as you get good enough, it's useless. And if you buy one that doesn't, then you can't fly. So you want to get something that was meant to go left, but it's really beat up, so you can get that flight, but it'll finish, and you can get your first S-curves. And the other tip I would say is good for all players, because as traveling around, about 99% of the people that ask me to help them throw have the same problem. Which is, I've said this in many tips before, but none of you that are new to the game, is your head must maintain over the contact point. Now whether you're hitting a ball, if you're hitting a ball, and it's the tees here, your head stays here over the ball until it's gone, right? You're hitting a baseball, head stays here until your shoulder brings it up, right? Disc golf's no different, but your contact point's on the right because you're swinging your arm, not a club, right? So as you come in, if you hit it here, which is your contact point here, your head should stay there until the disc is gone and then it comes up, all right? And what I see about 99% of people doing that are learning to play disc golf is they've seen us and they think that we're doing it all at once because they're seeing it in real time. So they're trying to imitate it, but we're not. And I'm seeing that as soon as they move their arm, they use their disc and their head and they follow it, right? But that takes all the distance out of their game and a lot of the accuracy, because here's why. If you're turning your head right here, you move your shoulder, watch. So then my line's off. But if my head stays still, see how my shoulder stays there? I'm gonna throw it where I intended. So I think that's the number one tip I can give anybody. Keep your head still over the contact point and you'll guarantee to hit your line. Seems funny at first not watching your disc, but that's why you play with your friends. They'll tell you what you threw.
Brilliant. 2 tips, so you got a bonus tip this week. Thanks to Dave Felberg. And again, Dave, thank you for taking the time to film this segment with us. 2 great tips, 1 great disc to check out.
Exodus from Infinite.
Absolutely. These guys want to follow along with you on your social media journey. Where can they follow you?
I have a social media page, the Dave Felberg Athlete page, but I like people to follow the NADGT.com page. We have NADGT on Facebook, NADGT on Instagram, NADGT.com. Follow the tour, join the next level.
There you go, NADGT events happening all across this country.
We're killing it, we're on fire.
Absolutely, check them out. Thanks SmashBoxx, and as always from Mason Productions, let's get excited for some disc golf.
All right, thank you, Ace Run and Dave. There's not only on SmashBoxx Tuesday nights do you get 2 tips for the price of 1.
That's
never enough tips here.
A valid point. I think Ace Run could have literally broke that up to 2 tips, 1 disc, maybe. I don't know, Dave. You can't. You. I'm not going there. You literally can't shut Dave up once he gets moving, and he loves to teach.
He does.
He's good at it. He's a very good teacher when it comes to disc golf, and my favorite is here's my tip. But if I could tell everyone 1 more tip that what you should do.
He's trying to help.
He is. He's a helper. He's a helper. He's great.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Dave, Felix, Ace Run, the whole crew over there. We love it. We love getting the submissions so that we can then share them with the world, and then we know they're going to also push them out even more, but it helps diversify. And let's be real.
Ace says that was 10 minutes, cut down to 4.
I mean, let's be real. That's 5 minutes of a show we don't have to
We're going to see those other 6 minutes in an outtake video, I promise.
No, seriously, though, yes, thank you guys very much. And, of course, I think we talked about on the show a few weeks ago, maybe, that, unfortunately, in the crosshairs and then next gen tour. Ultimately, the championships also had to be canceled. I know there's still events going on. I think Dave had told me that anyone that had qualified this year, they're going to work it into how they can be at the championships next year. And that just, obviously, that just kind of goes hand in hand with what's been happening throughout this entire year. Everybody trying to make their best adjustments to push through this year and make do with what we have.
I want to kind of backtrack just before we wrap up this show. I want to backtrack a little bit about the tour. I looked at the tour, and obviously it was announced, and it's all over social media. And I think we've talked about this before. How come there's not a tour stop in my state, Terry?
Oh, Johnny, good thing you asked.
Like, how come there's not a tour stop in every state, Terry? Like, Florida has some great courses.
The champ lives in Clearwater, I saw. Someone posted, said Clearwater has 2 good courses.
Wisconsin has some phenomenal courses, but yet they drive right through us. How come Montana has no tour stops? I saw so many posts like that yesterday and today about, like, where's my state's tour stop? And I just kind of want to say, if you want a tour stop, you might have the best course. Harmony Bend's one of the greatest courses. Not a tour stop. And it's not a bad crew that runs it.
No.
It requires a lot of work to be a tour stop. It requires a lot of fundraising. It requires a lot of volunteers. It requires a lot of coordination. So if you looked at that tour map and said, gosh, there's not a tour stop in my state, look around, look at your clubs, look at your courses, get a general idea, and start to run events. If there's no one running great events in your state, start running great events. Be that person. Be the change you want to see in the world, I think, as they say. That's just the note that I wanted to point out, was that's the comment that I saw the most, was how come there's not a tour stop in XXXXXX state?
And some of them are clearly a little more on point with their requests than others. You will have some people that are like, hey, we've got this great course. It's just down the road from my house. I play leagues there every night. I think Simon would love it. He could ace run every hole. It comes in at like 5,300 feet. So right there, you check almost 0 boxes, okay, when we're lining that one up. Now, if you have a world championship caliber course, let's just say that's rated as one of the best courses in the country, it plays at 6 or at 8 or 10 or 12,000 feet, whatever. You have a really strong club base along with a ton of enthusiasts with a huge volunteer base, along with great opportunities for sponsorship, and you're not in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so you check a bunch of boxes there. They still have to have somebody or a club or an entity that steps up and says, oh, hey, we would like to host an event here. And this really kind of echoes what we've said countless times about world championships and major bids. Same thing. When someone says, hey, this would be the greatest place in the world to have a Worlds, I think the PDGA is screwing us because we're not having Worlds in Southern California again. Well, again, you need to check all those boxes. There's proposal processes, and people have to want to do it. And we get it. Your post and your comment probably comes from a little bit of being a little bit naive to the process, but also your enthusiasm. So it's well-intentioned. Just know that there are a ton of factors that go into how a large-scale event gets put on the tour, gets awarded a bid, and or gets placed on the tour, or gets a major sanctioning or something like that. Your enthusiasm alone, as much as we love to hear it and see it, is not enough. And so that is probably the most polite way you could say as to why we're not seeing something probably happen in your area. Or we'll even take it a step further. Sometimes your area may have a great event and may not want to happen every year. And I know for a few years, Kansas City comes to mind. Kansas City Wide Open has had a great event for many years, the KC Wide Open. And for a while, they were almost alternating as to whether or not if they could be sustainable every single year to putting on a world-class event. So one year they may be an A tier or a B tier. The next year is when they would ramp up and then host something on the larger scale. So that might be an opportunity. And last but not least, another thing that's becoming more of a consideration year in and year out is, does your area support live video coverage? And we know that that's becoming something that is more and more of a talking
priority
point or a priority for your event. You may have the greatest event in the world, and if you're 200 miles outside of Fairbanks, Alaska, your event might be great, your course might be great, you might have the money, maybe not. You're probably not really en route for a lot of our other pros. And if you don't have any cell signal, that's not to say you can't have a nice, big, good event there.
We know there are great events on the national tour that have zero cell signal and will probably never, ever be able to be covered live, like Milo.
Yeah. So those are all things I take into consideration. It's not to come across as too harsh or mean or yelling at you, but because, again, I know when people post that, it's out of sheer enthusiasm, just like when Ricky Wysocki and Paige Pierce and Paul Macbeth will eventually in a few months post their tour schedule, and the very first comment will be, dude, you're not stopping in northern Wyoming? We've got a great course here. You really should stop here.
There's $1,500 added cash, bro.
Yeah, so we love that you want them there, that you want big events and you want big players there.
And as we know, the Silver Series has not been announced yet.
No.
So we'll see what happens on the Silver Series. That's honestly one of the things I know almost nothing about.
Oh, but I do.
I don't think you do.
I know things.
Maybe a couple, but not that much. And so we'll see those probably start to fill in some of those spots where maybe the events have a 10 or 12 day break on the tour. Maybe we'll see some of those weekends start to fill in. But
Johnny, and other big news tomorrow that I don't know if it's tomorrow, so I'm going to tease you guys out there. We're going to see some very fun international news also unfold.
Oh, we are.
So I'm going to throw that out there.
We're going to see that pretty soon.
International news with relation to some good disc golf. So also very exciting, and we wish we could share even more juicy details tonight, but unfortunately the timing and the stars didn't align. All right, we're going to wrap up the regular show. Seth from Disc Golf Strong, we love you, buddy. We hope you're doing well out there. I know we congratulated you on your first ace a few days ago, or last week maybe.
And I do want to say congratulations to Jamie Thomas, whose wife birthed their son this particular week. So I think it was yesterday he popped out. So was it yesterday or the day before?
No, I believe it was a couple days ago. Like,
was it a couple days ago?
Friday.
Either way, congratulations, Jamie Thomas.
And family.
Knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, that's what they
say.
That's what most birth cards read.
We knocked it out of the park. Check out my baby.
Good job. All right, so we will close out the regular show. We're so happy you guys are tuned in, watching us. When we stand down from our show, we will roll some credits, and that will thank some Patreon supporters that we have. When we come back immediately following that, we'll have our after show where we read off of the message boards and try and interact a little bit more with you. If you've got questions or debates that you want us to want to take place, remind me to talk about the #1 course in the country in the after show. That's a good starting point. But things may be disc golf related or otherwise, and we're glad to talk them over with you then. So for now, we're going to sign off. We want to thank Dana Vicich. So good to see and hear him yet again. For Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been SmashBoxxTV's podcast number 316. We'll see you in a few minutes in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 316's After Show. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V, as we are checking in on not only our Patreon subscribers and supporters. Thank you guys so much for doing so. In a little while, we will have a free giveaway.
Terry, how does one become eligible for this giveaway you talk so highly of?
Gosh, every week it's like you plug this. So all you have to do, if you want to be eligible for our giveaways, is simply become a Patreon supporter at any level.
Any level.
Any level. That could be as little as $1 a month.
A month?
You could do $1 a week. You could do $5 an episode, $20 an episode. Whatever you want. You can cap it. You can set it. You can say, hey, for every creation that they make, which is usually about $4 a month, you could make a contribution at that level. It's essentially like a pledge. And then at the end of the month, they cut it off and they say, okay, SmashBoxxTV, for instance, put out 4 instances of podcasts. So it will charge you whatever you pledged per podcast, but you could also cap it. So let's just play pretend and say you wanted to support us and you said, hey, I'd love to give you guys $3 for every podcast.
We'd love you more.
That you guys do. However, I'm on a $10 a month budget. So if we did put out our typical 4 podcast, it wouldn't charge you 12. It would cap it. And instead, it would only charge 9 or 10 then?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's a bad example because I don't know the answer. Either way, it would cap it. It would probably cap it at $10.
Probably 10.
Probably 10. The point is, if you can only give $1, that's fine as well. You do whatever you want. So anytime you are a Patreon subscriber of ours, though, every single week, Johnny pulls up a fresh list of our Patreon subscribers, and anyone at any level
205
shuffled into this spreadsheet. As
that's
he said,
what we got.
205 people, and then we will randomly pull a number. That number will correspond to the spreadsheet, and then we will send you out something probably a few weeks later, depending on how on top of it I am. I am largely behind, and that was actually on my list of things to try and do today. But
I lied. 204.
I will get those. Sometimes they're discs. We've sent out shirts, disc member boxes. They also support us, so we turn around and give away a disc member box from time to time, usually once a month. So we have stuff to give away to you every single week, and sometimes we even give out extra stuff. So that's all there is to it. I want to lead, as Johnny's looking at that quickly, I will lead with congratulations. Just a few weeks ago, the Disc Golf Pro Tour and most of our top disc golfers were at the #1 rated course in the country.
Valley View.
In New Berlin, Wisconsin. No, not that 2,300-foot course.
Oh.
Instead, Maple Hill. So congratulations, Steve Dodge had posted today. I should read it directly so I don't screw it up. But he had posted that he received something from UDisc. And I did follow up with him.
Rated in the U.S., #2 in the world.
Yes, and I had followed up and said, what were some of the metrics to that? And I think he gave me some things that were generic. So maybe Matt, who's on the board, Matt Kruger, can give us some details. But Steve did right. We are so honored to be ranked so highly with the UDisc app and our players. Thank you to anyone who has played Maple Hill and to anyone who has rated our course. We'd also like to thank our head groundskeeper, and then he gives an Instagram login, for keeping the course to such high standard. We also appreciate anyone who has volunteered and worked at Maple Hill. We couldn't have done it without you, and we want to again thank everyone for their hard work and support. So very cool to see. Yeah, awesome. So no surprise, we were just there a few weeks ago. We talk about how revered and special that course is. That course also implements some of the most unique strategies of private and pay to play that we've ever seen, and here it is on the top of the list. So keep doing what you guys are doing, because clearly it's pretty incredible. All right, so in the after show, like we said, we love to read from the board and maybe have a little more direct interaction with you one-on-one. And usually I'll read through these. Sometimes I'll repeat the questions verbatim, or sometimes I'll take your thoughts, spin them into something that I like a little bit more, and pass it off as my own original or unique thought. So thank you for trying not to, for helping out there. Matt says, Maple Hill's #1 rating was based on over 1 million ratings in the UDisc app. And then there is more info that you can click on if you want to read more about it. So it says the world's best disc golf courses is a 10-part series. You can find each article of the plus a list of the top 50 courses. Johnny, before I click on this, any guesses as to maybe like some others in the top 10?
Harmony Bend's probably we'll say number 2 in the country. Maybe Roland Ridge, top 10, like somewhere up there. Yarva, probably up there in the top 10. Trying to think of other courses. I would think maybe Idlewild is probably in the top 10.
Any other Pro Tour courses? Somewhere like a Smuggler's Notch, perhaps?
Possibly Smuggler's. I don't know. Like, Smuggler's Notch is a great venue, but I don't know if either individual course would make that top 10. Like, if you were telling me resorts, I have to put that up there with Sandy Point. But this is not a resort. These are looking at individual courses. I don't think either one of those quite cracked the top 10. So, no, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, as I scroll down, and it looks like they really break it down, so maybe I've already put myself into a hole I won't be able to dig out of easily. But looking here, I see Yarva, Maple Hill, Hillcrest Farm in Canada, Prince Edward Island, where we've seen an event the last few years up there. Milo McIver, maybe no surprise there. The Canyons at Delwood, that's not far from where Dana lives, so if you want to go visit Dana and then play some golf. Blue Ribbon Pines in the Twin Cities area, Minnesota.
Flip City might be up there.
Brewster Ridge does hit, actually, in the top 8.
Oh, top 8. Sorry. Shout out to Brewster Ridge. Sorry about that.
AL Disc Golf Center in Sweden is there in the top. Krokel in Norway. De La Viega, the Jackson Course, Idlewild, Sela Ranch, Moraine, Harmony Bends, so on and so forth, all in the top 20. And then 20th comes in as Fox Run Meadows, the other one in Vermont. So, yeah. And one of our favorites, Sandy Point Resort, quick shout out for them, 25th rated in the world, Sandy Point Resort, which is in northern Wisconsin, somewhere I was just at recently. So, great place. Okay. As I'm reading here on the board, someone had asked a little bit earlier as to the registration, as to what we're seeing for the U.S. Women's Nationals. And I believe originally they had announced that there was going to be 40 spots available. Some people were saying that doesn't feel like enough, even though I want to say our world's registration tops usually out around 40 or 50 most years for FPO. And I just looked a few moments ago, and as of right now, there's 40 spots available, and 38 women signed up.
So we have 2 spots?
Yep.
Honestly, I wasn't listening, and I'm like, did he say 40 or 42? So when I said 2, and I'm like, I'm going to sound really dumb.
You nailed it, Johnny.
I'm going to sound really dumb
Nope,
if I can't do that simple math.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised that we don't have it full plus a waiting list, I guess would be the question. Is any reason why maybe we do or don't that you can think of?
Yes. Because it's on the East Coast.
Okay.
You're not probably going to see a lot of people come in from the West Coast or people who aren't normally on the tour travel in for this. And I don't know if she's on there. Maybe you can check. Is Sai Ananda on there? She would be one from the West Coast that would probably perform well, should be there, and
she's on there.
She is. Okay, good. Yeah, because, I mean, she's, again, she's one of those people who should travel, but there's not a lot like her. Like, there's not a lot of women who are going to travel and make their way to this awesome event, to get their butt kicked on a course they don't know by touring pros. Every touring pro is going to be on there that I know. Just curious, is Paige Shue on there?
She is.
Awesome. She is I'll say this. She hasn't been playing a lot lately, but she's a dark horse pick for me. I think this course particularly it favors an accurate, non necessarily aggressive type player. But I still think Paige Pierce.
Yeah, so I'll kind of.
But ultimately, every major touring player is on this list. Why would anybody who's not in the general area, and maybe we have a couple women on the board that can answer this, who's not in the general area, why would they travel to play this? What are they getting out of playing a major?
Major of the year, the camaraderie, a women's only event, a unique opportunity to play at a course that they never otherwise get to play at. Like I said, there's one women's only major this year, and this is it. So, I mean, clearly not every woman that signs up for every event thinks they have a chance necessarily to win it, but it's so much more than just that chance to win it. I mean, of course, I don't think they're going there hoping they're taking last either, but
no,
just keeping some expectations in check.
And especially in today's climate where you're traveling 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles to go to a place where there's going to be probably zero camaraderie because everybody's going to maintain and stay to themselves. You're not going to probably go and hang out like women's. Normally the big women's event is a big party. I don't say a party, but it's a gathering where all of these women enjoy each other's company, and it's almost like like I called it at the memorial, like a small family reunion. Everybody gets to see each other, hang out, chat, talk. They do dinners and all this other stuff. None of that's going to exist here. This is an event strictly for the play. This is an event for competition. Like, as Nova says, she's broke. And I'm going to extrapolate on that. Why would she go there? Why would she, if money is already an issue, and I know I've always said in general, like, disc golf should be the last thing on your plate if money is an issue. But even say she had a little bit of expendable income. And I'm going to say this because Nova's on here. And Nova has zero chance to cash. And I don't think that's true, but let's just say that's true. If she has zero chance to cash, why would she come to this? What advantage does she have to come to this? Now, again, I can say that because Nova's on our board right now, and I'm extrapolating because I think Nova's a phenomenal player, and she could possibly take mid to bottom cash, I think, in this event if she plays up to her capabilities.
Well, let's just ask her, Nova.
Why wouldn't you go? Am I right? Would you go to something like this? Because the women's event is, again, usually a much more fun and open and free environment. I just feel this is strictly about the play. This event is hands down.
It's business.
It's business. There is very little pleasure here.
So you're saying that you would anticipate a larger field if it wasn't just about the play.
Correct.
Okay.
I think, and if this event were being held on this course in a normal year, where you could have player parties, where you could have a players' dinner, maybe some players' meetings, maybe meet and greets, I think you would definitely fill this event. But without all of that extra stuff, and on top of that, everybody having, we'll say, throw everybody's personal issues into that, whether it's your job, whether it's extra money, whether it's this or that, you can throw all of that in there. That I personally think that's why this event isn't sold out. It's going to be a phenomenal event. We're going to see the top FPO players in the world on a course that everybody knows play this like we've always wanted to see them. And we haven't seen this happen in years. Like absolute years where an FPO field has gotten a chance to play this course. Yeah. So we are going to see that. And I'm excited. But I completely understand why someone like Nova or Christy doesn't make it a priority.
Okay.
Nova says, in this era, it's pretty lonesome playing tourneys on the road. True, but I do want to see the course play at the top level, and that's true. And we're going to see that. We're going to see Kat and Paige and Shu and Fakis and Missy Gannon and all of the FPO players just play this course to different capabilities and different styles, and I'm excited about that.
I think she's also saying that she would go because she wants to play against the best of the best.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody does. Everybody wants to play it, but this isn't. Again, it's to me. It feels like how I would treat, like and again, I'm different in a lot in
Yeah, you are. You can say that again.
If someone gave me the opportunity to play USDGC, I would take them up on the offer.
Okay.
It almost doesn't matter the year because I'm going there I would be going there to rack up the experience of playing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you told me, hey, you can play Beaver State, but you just get to play the course. There's no extra. Or even Maple Hill. Like for me, MVP Open maybe is even a better example. If you told me, guess what, John, you have a free entry to MVP Open. We've got a spot reserved for you. All you have to do is pay for your lodging and your travel. I would turn them down this year because there isn't having been there. I know that the family environment, the awesome camaraderie, it doesn't exist this year. And it'll be back next year. Hope, cross our fingers, all that stuff. This year is different. And on top of the fact that this event didn't really come together until late, we didn't even know a couple weeks ago whether these events were for sure going to happen.
Yeah.
There was always the rain cloud that said, well, the university could pull the rug out from under us at any minute. And thank heavens that didn't happen, because I think we're going to see some phenomenal play.
All right. Well, either way, it will be awesome. Somebody asked in the board, will there be coverage of the FPO? Yes, we kind of touched on that a little bit. We will see live coverage, and I think we talked about it too, that Hannah Macbeth and Juliana Corver, we believe are, as we've been told, are last slated to be your host for the FPO side of things. So it should be a lot of fun to check that out. And again, there's going to be more announcements with regards to the coverage and some of those details all unfolding tomorrow on Wednesday the 23rd. So
Chrissy says she believes this is full. They're waiting on responses from some women on the wait list. There are like 15 people on the wait list.
Oh, okay. So, well, that maybe changes the tune a little bit.
A little bit.
As I'm looking right now, what you just talked about, though, we're talking about our players that are coming that aren't necessarily on the tour. And I without dragging this out too long, I will just say we see Paige, Sarah, Kat, and then Jennifer Allen, who is she's not on the tour. She has openly said she's only been playing in a limited number of events.
I'm excited to see Jen Allen on this course.
And she's been focused on her work, her actual 9 to 5, as she says. Haley King, Missy Gannon, Heather Young, Saya Nanda would be the next one that's not on a full-time tour. And then you have Jessica Weiss, Paige Shue, Lisa Fakis, Ellen Widboom, Holly Finley, Vanessa, Callie McMorrin. Elaine King is off and on in terms of being on the tour, not really. Macy Walker would be one of the newer names that I don't necessarily know as a week in and week out name. And then same with Melody Bailey, who's coming in from Washington. She had some surgeries on her hand at one point. She was playing left-handed, I think, for most of last year. And so hopefully we'll see her there. And so even, as you're saying, Johnny, to your point, most of the women that are signed up, we're seeing most weekends, at least for the top 2/3 of this field. And then we start getting into a few people who obviously are serious players that we just might not see out on the tour.
Regional players, we'll say.
Or maybe even more regional players. So it'll be awesome to see. Owen Scoggins is not listed as being a current member, but I know she'll be way up in the top 10 or so women, at least ratings-wise. And she's not listed just yet. So, all right. Reading on the board, let's see what else they have. Some people are saying that they have reached out to Innova. I think they're trying to, like you just mentioned, maybe, and maybe you guys are confirming just that.
I think Nova was
trying to
maybe just talking about sponsorship, reaching out to Innova for sponsorship, and some jokes about that. But someone brings up a Ray Zerhusen talks about Rebecca Cox, how we really haven't seen her on in the top of the field lately, and whether or not that has to do with her new form and maybe becoming more accustomed to her new backhand form and getting comfortable with that. And I honestly don't know the reason. I would think maybe that has something to do with it. That when you change up something that you are that you've grown up with, it is a slow process to get back to where you need to be or want to be. And hopefully that's for the better, and come next year we'll see her with a full year of that under her belt, come back and start to see those top 5 finishes again.
Looking at do you feel like I'm going to kind of sidetrack back to the schedule. Obviously, the Memorial was a little bit of a surprise to many. And then keeping the Preserve on the schedule. This year it had, I'll say filled in is really truly, I feel like a fair phrase. Stepped up, filled in, became a tour stop. The DDO is not returning in the form of being on the tour
because the GBO will be back.
Because we're going to see the GBO back. Were there any other, I'll say, surprises for you?
No, I don't even think that the Preserve was a real surprise for me. I said it when we saw the event. It would be very hard to take this event off the tour now because of the response it got, because of how quickly it came together and how well it was done. It would be very difficult to take those steps back to say, well, sorry, Cale, but your course is great and only getting better. You now have a food area. It just really makes sense for them to give it another chance on the tour.
What do you think we'll see in terms of changes, if any, for the layout last year? Do we care that
very
12 or 14 or 17 under were hot scores last year? Do you think we'll see any changes out there?
I think we will. I think you're going to, if I had to take a guess, probably 4 or 5 holes will change, either lengthen or change pins of some sort, maybe make them more difficult, raise the pin a little bit to maybe take a half a stroke off of the field. This was a really, I don't want to put anything funny or devious, but this was a really devious way of Cale to get on the tour. Like, oh no, I can fill in during the pandemic and then just, no, I'm not leaving. Like, he's like an unwanted house guest, except he's wanted, which is weird because he's Cale.
He's welcome to stay at my house anytime.
Yeah, same here. He gets in the door and he just doesn't leave. And you're like, well, okay, Cale. I mean, you want to stay here. And that's kind of how I feel like the Preserve was. And it's a great establishment, and I'm excited to see what they can do in the future. I think there's some really good bones in that temp course that they put together.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that they just figure out a way to maybe make it a little more difficult.
Give it a little bit more teeth. Michael asks, can you guys comment on the lack of disc golf supply during COVID and your thoughts of how it will shape in 2021? We actually kind of touched on that as we opened the show hours ago with Dana about how the growth of disc golf has been very obvious here during the 2020 season. We've had a number of manufacturers talk about it. Most recently, maybe at a large scale, was Jeremy Rusko over at Dynamic Disc, just talking about all of the things that have come about within COVID and what that's meant for their business, how they've actually hired more people because of that. And then, I don't think it's a big secret. A lot of our manufacturers are legitimately out of product. If you're ordering sometimes from someplace like Discraft, as I'm a vendor of theirs, if you're ordering from someplace like a Discraft or sometimes Innova, might be limited on stocks and supplies. DD, I think I got an update from DD today at one point that said we have such and such item in stock. At the end of the day, it said, I got another email that said that item we had in stock is now out of stock. And I think there were baskets or something of that nature. So will there be a catch-up time? I guess that's the real question. All of the manufacturers are going to have to decide where and what they're putting their resources toward. Some people, I know of some companies that have gone as far as purchasing more molding machines, which are
really
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I hadn't heard that, but that's awesome.
They may be ramping up their production schedules in terms of running more hours in a day or more days in a week, even though I've heard some of them are already running at full capacity. So will they get caught up? Who knows? And what steps are they going to take? This might be a big year for some businesses to say, hey, we're ready to take that next leap, and we'll see if their production can keep up with things. I don't think it's a big secret that someone like a Discmania, and I know we had Dana earlier, we saw them announce last year that they're expanding and working with other manufacturers rather than just having their disc molded specifically from Innova, and now they're having various
But they're a
molds
very
come in
unique brand, and no other, no, I don't say no other, most of our major manufacturers don't do that. Like
Correct.
the only other major manufacturer that could possibly do that would be DD. Like DD probably could go to one of the other manufacturers and say, "Hey, we'd like this mold," even though traditionally they've always gone through Lat 64 or Latitude or whatever you want to say, the Swedes to get their plastic. They could, on one hand, turn to another company and say, "Hey, we would like you to help manufacture some discs." No other company is probably going to do that. I mean, when I say major, I'm talking Innova, Discraft, Legacy, MVP. Those are, I mean, Gateway. Those are really like the major manufacturers right
Vibram.
now. Terry, I have some news to break to you.
I love those soles. Trust your rubber. Steve Dodge told me that once and put it on a shirt.
Somewhere I have a commercial with some guy trying to run up a rubber hill or something with water pouring under and proving how great those soles are. But I'm going to break this to you that Vibram is no longer making discs.
Dang it.
I know. So all of your laces and unlaces are now collectors.
Yay!
But in general, I think Discmania is a unique situation, and that might be good. And I mean, it's good for them, period. There's no way around it. I don't see a downside of being able to go to two different manufacturers and say, oh, this company can't get me what I need quick enough. Okay, maybe you can fill it in with this other mold that we've been looking at, because Discmania has been releasing a lot of molds recently. And on top of that, they have the Yukon brand. And I saw that they last week had a couple new discs come out, and I think I saw a new disc coming out from them very shortly, and they've been killing it as far as molds. I don't know about quantity. I think it's difficult for everybody.
Well, we'll like I said, I think it's a matter of who can play catch up, and will there be any part of a down season or an off season for some of them to do just that, to get caught up with some of the production needs.
And as a,
dare I say, they somewhat sounds like good problems to have.
Maybe
to some degree.
That's difficult because as a business, you have to assume that the winter months are going to be your downtime for disc golf. And I know there's the southern states that'll still kind of keep people afloat, but in general, there's going to be a lot less discs sold in winter. It's going to be very difficult to project your sales for next year in, cross our fingers, a normal year. Are we going to see the same type of demand for discs, or will we see these manufacturers invest in additional molding machines, additional labor, all these extra hours, and stock up on this plastic just to see demand go down? When there's next year, when we have all of the normal sports and all these other things going on that will draw their attention away from disc golf? Or do we really see this jump and this is the new normal? I don't know. I don't envy their position by any means, because as my 9 to 5, we're in a business right now where the pandemic thankfully hasn't really affected the housing market. So we are having our best year ever. But I don't know if next year that's going to be the same. We have to take that into account and be careful on our growth. And I know that for a fact, and it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I think projections is obviously very tough. And someone asked earlier, if we think there's going to be a pro tour, if we're going to be back at the events, how many events are going to be? I mean, right now everyone's planning for what I would assume is best case scenario. Now, if things are in a position where we have to make adjustments. Well, then we're going to do just that. But right now, we kind of have to plan for, I feel like, planning for the best and going to assume that things are going to kind of get back to normal in having a regular year. I
hope so.
I feel
but
like
what's regular?
when the weather warms
right
up
now, or is regular what we saw last year?
I don't know. When the weather warms up, I feel like this thing's going to go away. When the heat will come in, and then it will go away.
I heard that somewhere.
So let's see if that happens. Fingers crossed. Disc Golf Ledger has said that you are underestimating the holidays, which could be very true, because now, just for the simple fact, you could have Tom, Dick, and Harry, your three children who didn't play disc golf before.
If you name your kids Tom, Dick, and Harry, I'm going to slap you.
But they didn't play disc golf before, but now they picked it up. They introduced their 10 buddies to it, and all of a sudden the parents and everybody else is like, yeah, we're getting our kids some more discs. We don't know what
maybe
they're buying.
A basket, a bag.
We're buying them baskets. We're buying them bags. You're exactly right. With
a bunch of whale sacks.
The inherent growth that has come upon
us.
Who
else do we want sponsorship from? What else can we throw out there?
A set of Bushnell rangefinders are for.
Clearly.
The 850 sport model, please. All of those types of things could continue to ramp up and get sold in large.
It could. It definitely could. And like I said, I don't envy their position to have to make those projections.
So we'll get on top of that for the Disc Golf Ledger. That's actually a really good call. And he said I would put money down that December is still the best month of the year for disc golf retail. So that's a really good. That's another great point to make with all the new people that are have started to play here this year. What we are excited about is all of you guys for joining us. Thank you so much here tonight. I think at this moment, Johnny V is going to cue things up. We're going to get ready for our giveaway. This does not have to be the climax of the show. We don't want you to leave.
No,
after you found out if you won or lost.
We can hang out and chat.
You can stick around, cuddle, be with us longer. But
SmashBoxx and SmashBoxx. I don't know.
Johnny V is ready to give you guys. We're going to pull a number, and that, like I said, will correspond with our weekly Patreon giveaway list. And from there, I will get something mailed out to you. If you did get an email at any point in the last 4 to 6 weeks from Johnny, and it said something like,
to people.
hey, or you may get an email that says, hey, let's double check your address because we have free stuff to send you. Please make sure that you get that back to us so we can get you your free goods. All right, Johnny, you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to pull up random.org. Right?
I have it up. We have 204 entrants into this week's Patreon giveaway. And as we said earlier in the after show, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Okay. I think we are going to pull from our sixth number. We have 361 people joined us right now. I'm going to make it difficult for you.
You are. Our first number is 100.
Ooh, how did you sort them tonight,
Second
Johnny?
number is 63 by first name. Third number is 157. Fourth number is 194. Fifth number is 179. So our sixth and final number that we're going to generate tonight is number 198.
Wasn't the previous 197? That's crazy.
No,
it was.
And this is Vince Prythirch. Vince Prythirch.
Nailed it.
Vince Prythirch. So congratulations, Vince. We are going to reach out. I'll send Terry your information. It looks like we have your you're over in Cardiff. Well, say hi to the Doctor Who for me, guy. So we will get you a disc and get that to you. Thank you very much for being a Patreon supporter. See, even if you're overseas, we'll send you a disc. We'll figure something out for you. That's what we do.
Yeah.
You might not get it for 6 months while we ship it via carrier pigeon.
Wow, yeah, that might.
But you'll get that, I promise, Vince.
We'll get something over to you.
So thank you very, very, very much. Very
all right.
much.
Cody had also asked, Disc Golf Warehouse has thousands of molds in stock. Why the complaint of distributors not able to get stock? What molds do they have? Because if they have Wolves, they might have thousands of those. For instance, if they have...
How many first runs destroyers do they have left? I want to get...
Yeah, exactly. I can't speak to every single manufacturer. I know some of our largest retailers are getting orders by the thousands, but they still aren't necessarily getting everything they ordered. I've heard of a retailer or two, online retailers, that may put in an order to a manufacturer that says, hey, we'd like to order 5,000 discs, and they get their order, and there's 2,000 that were sent to them simply because they didn't have enough to fill all of their order. And then you're talking about, well, should there be a priority on your largest retailers, on your smallest retailers? I even heard recently that there was a manufacturer who had a release of discs recently, but they only made this release of discs available to their top 100 buyers, which in a lot of ways makes some sense.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways that shuts out a smaller operation or a smaller guy or someone who doesn't do as much purchasing with them in a year.
I've got no problem with that.
I understand all of I think I understand all of the pros and cons to that. And I don't know if I feel good or bad that I didn't know about it until after the fact. There's no good PR for that. Hey, you're not one of our top 100 buyers, therefore you don't even get a shot at purchasing these. The question is, what do you give your top 100 buyers? Let's say a brand new disc comes out, Johnny. Popular disc, it just comes out, and you are a manufacturer of said disc, and you say, hey, we've got, I'm just going to make up a number and say we have 1,000 buyers in the last fiscal year. We have 1,000 buyers. We are going to offer these discs to our top 100 buyers at the moment.
Okay.
Top 100 vendors. Okay.
Sounds fair.
How many do you offer them? Because this becomes a depth versus breadth kind of situation, right? Where it's like, well,
sure.
You could offer.
I would think you'd do evenly if you have 1,000 discs. And do you say 1,000, right?
No, I'm saying 1,000 vendors. You're gonna offer to your top 10% of vendors. You're gonna offer them a chance to get these first run of discs, and you're not gonna offer them to the other 90% of people that you normally would sell to.
And I think you divide it up evenly.
And you divide it up evenly. I'm saying, is there a magic number before you offer them to the other 900? Like, how heavy do you get to go on the top 100 vendors? I think that's the fine balance that's tough.
If this is your, again, this is so weird because it's you could have so many different answers here. Like, if you want to reward your top 100, you say, okay, everyone can buy X amount. And then if all those are sold, you go back to them and say, do you want any more? I mean, if you're truly trying to reward the top one, you don't ever offer it to the other people.
Okay.
Like, you keep trying to sell it to your top 100 until people say, I don't want any more. And then maybe you start saying, okay, cool. We have 3 discs left.
Here's our other 900 vendors. Go online tomorrow at 10:59.
Try to get those 3 discs.
Okay.
If that's what your goal is. And again, this is a
I know it's a crazy hypothetical. It's just a matter of, I think, I don't envy our manufacturers that are put in a tight position of they have limited supply. How do you try and make presumably as many vendors happy as possible, or are you just trying to make your top 10 or 20% of vendors, your largest ones, the most happy? And as the board will say, that really hurts some of your small vendors. Of course it does. Yeah. And then the small vendor would say, well, if you gave me more discs to sell, maybe I could get into your top 100. But a fun little game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you do that for everybody, but there are certain discs you could do that for, certain sales.
I don't have any said discs, if you're wondering.
Probably not. What else do we have out here? Is there anything else we want to talk about? Has anything else in the disc golf world happened? Has anything outside of the disc golf world happened?
Well, I mean, we could talk about the Packers. I hear they're
2-0, baby. Laying down some hammers on our competition right now.
Okay, that's good.
Rodgers is looking good, looking like he's only 31
so
and
is there
not 37.
Still a debate about, catch me up on the old pigskins for a moment.
Okay, Terry. I'm here for your pigskin talk.
The Packers there, our home team, the Cheeseheads, picked up a draft pick, some solid quarterback guy, feller.
Yeah.
And that created a little stir.
It did, but let's be real. No one's knocking Aaron Rodgers out of the bed right now. not as long as we can. We still got the best quarterback in the
NFLs.
Not quite the NFLs, I'd say at this point.
AFLs, the CFL,
better than all of those,
XFL.
but probably the NFL North, I would say for sure.
Okay.
NFC North, we got the best, but it's hard to say he's better than that Mahomes character. He's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think I saw it broken down last year when he signed his contract. He makes like $117 million a second or a minute or something like that.
Much, but it's a lot. Dude makes a lot of money, and it's good. So
it is definitely absurd.
It's fun. But I will say we are 1-1 in the disc golf media fantasy football league.
Heck yeah, we are. Who'd we beat last week?
We beat Jamie Thomas.
Yeah, we did. He's having a kid.
I know.
Didn't even change his roster. I'd add that new kid to the roster.
We slapped him down, but we did lose to Steve Dodge this week.
Oh.
Could have beat him if we would have just played someone different, but that's the way it goes. James is someone on our bench. But that's all the fantasy football talk you're going to get today.
All right. Well, we got to get to the real questions. Michael, I'll hit yours first. Culver's or Whataburger?
Culver's.
Johnny, you've never even had Whataburger.
I've never had a Whataburger, but I'm going to say
Culver's is definitely better. Yeah, I have had both. Plenty of both. Okay, not Whataburgers, but Culver's definitely better. Cody asked earlier and said, should we see marksman baskets on our elite level events? I think that has emphatically been just beat down to a no over the last few years.
It has to be tried. If you were to tell me one of the Silver Series were doing it, I would be all about it.
Or all of the Silver Series.
No, just one. I want to see one good Silver Series do it before it would ever step up to an elite event. And no one has the guts to do it at an Elite Series event, and that's not a bad thing. It has to be done at a Silver Series event first.
Okay.
Is the USDGC basically the championship of the universe this year? No. Because we can't have international players. So it's a great event, but it's still just going to be the championship of the Americas.
Yeah, taking place at Winthrop Arena. Daniel says, I hate to say it, but Five Guys is better than either, and I would agree with you. I know Johnny disagrees, Daniel, but Five Guys burgers and fries are both better than anything you get at Culver's, as much as I love Culver's. Sam says, so I jokingly blame Smashbox for Charlie Barron's Manitowoc Minute popping up in my YouTube feed. I am hooked. Yeah, Charlie Barron's, for those that don't know,
he's a comedian.
He's a comedian that does Manitowoc Minute and very much epitomizes and plays on the dialect and the overall
the northern
Midwestern,
Wisconsin, the northern Wisconsin, I would say Minnesota style mannerisms and blue collar. I was fortunate, I guess, enough to see Charlie Barron's do live comedy last year. I wouldn't necessarily put it in my top 5 live shows I've seen in general.
Did he get a little tiresome because we're from here in Wisconsin?
No, not at all. He really only played about half of his show was his kind of shtick. His hey there, and the other half was a stand-up show.
It just rate his comedy for his regular non-shtick stuff. Just okay, not good.
4 out of 10.
Wow, so not very good at all.
No, and it seemed. Great guy, wonderful person, but I felt his timing was not that great, and maybe it was just the room that we were in because we were there for a fundraiser, and he's talking a little bit about just growing up and kind of the general, I think, Catholic and church kind of thing, and it just didn't seem like it didn't seem like the right crowd for what he was playing, and I felt like the timing was a little off, and he hung on some things a little longer than I felt like he should. It was a little awkward at times, I would even say. You're kind of sitting there like, yeah, you could have skipped this joke probably, and no one would have been any the worse off for it. He can be very funny though on his YouTube channel. Yeah, he does have a lot of funny clips, and with the timing of those being maybe a little bit shorter, some clips and skits. So if you don't know what we're talking about, the Manitowoc Minute is what you should go find. It's been awesome watching his career grow, and talk about a guy that is
taking advantage and I don't want to say cashing in because he's working hard, but just really honing his craft to then develop his own style and owning it entirely. And I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's been really awesome watching him grow throughout the years. All right. Cody says Cody's got all sorts of topics.
Bring him, Cody. Bring him.
What about a super elite tour where entry fees are much higher, $2,500 for instance? Only the best would show up with high payouts, like first place, $20K. I mean, entry fee of $2,500. I'll just tell you,
you're going to get about 5 people to play that.
Yeah,
and then you'd have to have almost like a winner take all, or first place gets 10, or not even 10K. Yeah, maybe 10K, and second place gets 2,500. It just, unfortunately, it would be a good exhibition, but that's about it. Unfortunately, that's too high of a stakes. I think now if you're talking $400 to $500, I think then you might have a
few more gamblers to throw their to pony up the dough. But when you're talking about that much entry fee, just to be fair, there's not a lot of players that run around with $2,500 extra in their pocket and want to throw it down and gamble on 18 or 36 holes against the other best players in the world. There's a few, but so I mean, you take the top 5 out of 5 players, they're all game. But are you going to get the 12th best player in the world or the 16th best player in the world? Probably not looking to throw down on that kind of not with that kind of an entry fee. Michael, you bring up a great point that Johnny and I yet again will disagree on, asking pineapple on pizza.
Nope.
Yes, all day, along with some
it's gross
ham and some jalapenos.
I don't mind ham, but I don't want and even I don't love jalapenos, but I can almost take them. But pineapple just ruins a pizza. It just ruins it. And you can share a pizza with my wife anytime, Terry, because she loves her Hawaiian.
Yeah. Eric says that Paul Macbeth dropped some hints in big news coming up on the Upshot podcast. I'll just say a little bit earlier, I messaged Paul Macbeth asking, this is way at the top of the show, and I asked if he would still be playing in the Memorial. And then he said, will I even play in 2021? Who knows? And then he said he was just kidding. He hasn't thought about it, and he says he first has 3 tournaments to worry about here to close out this year. That does bring up another good point that you guys haven't asked about is Jonesboro, with its time proximity to USDGC, are you or are you not surprised that we still have such a stout field registered and ready to play next weekend, Johnny?
Am I surprised?
Are you surprised that the likes of Paul Macbeth and some of our other players that are looking forward to the only major of the year, that they're also playing in this big Pro Tour event that is still relatively close with a 10.5-hour drive between them?
I'm not really that surprised.
Okay.
I think a lot of people like the Jonesboro course.
Mm-hmm.
I think more people like the Jonesboro course than like the USDGC course. I think the USDGC event is better, but just the course itself, Jonesboro is one of those courses that everybody seems to love. It not quite to the Idlewild level, but it's up there. And you've got it's part of the Pro Tour. No, I'm not surprised.
Okay. Also, in this last weekend, as Wes Warren points out, played with Scott Stokely in the. Let me see. Sorry, it scrolled up. How do you pronounce that? Is that Faro? I don't know how that's pronounced. I think that's in Idaho, isn't it? Or Arkansas? Sorry. Had him, but blew up with 10 holes to go, and I kissed a putt to tie, even though I gained a stroke that hole. Yeah. Scott Stokely taking down an MP40 event this last weekend.
Pronounced Farragut.
Farragut?
That's what Wes Warren tells us.
Okay. Oh, so it is Idaho. Yeah, thank you. I thought, what am I thinking in Arkansas?
I have no idea.
Either way, I was close. My gut told me Idaho.
Your Farragut
told me Idaho, and then
I'm glad you listened to it.
I'm smart like that. Danielle, well, there's an interesting question. Homemade baskets or cones? I'd love to see an old cone course tournament just for nostalgia purposes. It would be really unique. I'd also love to see more Superclass events, but I understand they're going to be largely underattended and not unpopular.
Superclass has it's run its course. It's done. Gone. Goodbye.
Even from nostalgia?
Even with as quickly as our sport is growing and as fast as the new people are coming in, Superclass, they don't even understand what Superclass is. You want a bunch of I'm going to stereotype old hippie frisbee throwers. Sure, they'd love it. They'd love a Superclass because they can maybe compete.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You've got Alan Risley, who's like, yeah, I might be able to compete with Macbeth on a super, a
Sure.
Superclass event. Nobody else cares. Like, cool. Hey, how about this, Terry? Let's play a football game with a true old pigskin football.
Okay.
Like, it just.
And leather helmets?
And leather helmet. Well, that's a whole different discussion. But in general, like, so many people don't really yearn for that past anymore. And I think that what we saw in, we'll say even 10 years ago was kind of I think that was the peak. We're like, oh, cool. We still have this nostalgic history and we didn't know what the future brought. Well, the future brought a ton of new golfers who don't give two craps about the history of our sport.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I'm not complaining about it. But, for the most part, if my son suddenly gets into the NFL, does he really care, about the third, the fourth, the fifth Super Bowl winners? No, he's going to care about what's going on. He will care about the first two, though, because those are the Packers.
Because we're talking football,
Green
Bay
football.
Packers.
So,
so Superclass, for those of you who don't know, and I don't know where the exact year or specific mold or model or cutoff is when it comes to a beveled edge versus a higher rim, but when you're talking about Superclass, you think of discs like the Condor and Zephyrs and Apple and Sky Stylers and discs that are Frisbee-like. I don't know
that
if
are
the
a pain
official
in the ass to get a hold of.
that
these
are
days.
officially just non-beveled edge. So it's not necessarily just a year as it is a shape and a design that goes along with it. And there was something that was deemed officially as super class in terms of you could have the events and the restrictions would be to just those discs. And a few of those have taken place. They're, as we're just saying, not incredibly common. And a great place where those could be done are courses that were designed in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 90s maybe, that by today's standards are incredibly short and easy or too easy. We think of a course like in Wisconsin where someone like Barry Schultz grew up and started to play was Valrath Park in Sheboygan, went in 80, 78, 80, 82, whenever that went in. And right now by today's standards, it is an incredibly short and easy course. Well, they were throwing around big midnight flyers and lids at that time when that course had been designed and installed. So, yeah, very, very different from where we are at, obviously, now. So, Dust is out there. Thanks for the super chat.
Thanks, Dust. I see you're doing a little more streaming of Valorant, I believe it is, and I think you even did some commentating on that for some event. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I believe I saw you post on your social medias about that. So congratulations, and hopefully you get more of those commentating gigs.
Sweet. Okay. I don't know if we don't have anything else. Yeah. Michael talks about the old days of the internet when he said, Mom, get off the phone. I'm on the computer. And if only...
I made the joke that every website I go to, joking about like the history, I make modem noises when the website loads up.
Well, and I guess this does bring it full circle. Today, I was making some notes for something which felt very weird because I'm almost scripting a voiceover that I'm going to do on a video that I hope to goodness is out tomorrow. So I'm going to leave that as a surprise. But the voiceovering for it was feeling a little weird and not flowing well. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'll type this out. Well, that feels just as awkward for me because I don't really do voiceovers that are ever scripted. So
that's funny because all of mine are scripted. Like when I do the top fives and the not fives, I will put all the pieces together and then I will go through and I'll put up a real generic script like, okay, this is Paul Macbeth on hole 15. This is the distance. And then I might come up with a couple keywords like, oh, he dominated or doinked, something like that. And then I'll kind of walk through it. And if I really like what I'll say, I'll script it out. I'll do the complete full thing. And then there's always a little wiggle room, but it also helps for timing because when you have 5 clips, some of them are only 10 seconds, some of them are 20 seconds. I want to make sure that I have those prepped so I'm not running into the next particular highlight. Well,
it was very weird, and hopefully it won't come across you that way when I do get this thing released. But I pulled it up, and my first instinct was go to Google Docs and put it in there. For whatever reason, I just quickly typed in Word. So Microsoft Word, which I have on my computer, pops up. Not Notepad, but Word. Usually I do use Notepad for a lot of things.
No, I
pull up Microsoft Word, and I start typing all this stuff. And at one point, my 11-year-old walks in to my computer, and she sees one of the screens up, and she's watching the video with me that I'm trying to describe. And she looks at Word, and she goes, "What is that?" I said, "This is Microsoft Word." I said, "Before there were Google Docs, this is where you would type things out. And now everything, they basically made Google Docs, she's like, it looks so old." That was the term she used. And I couldn't help but smile and yes.
Shaker.
Yeah. Yes, dear. So it was a very funny exchange. My daughter's, I feel like, pretty up on things.
Yeah, well, this has more features than Google Docs, girl.
What's that?
I said it's got more features.
That's what I told her. I said, there's a lot more things in here, just like I would assume Excel still outperforms Google Sheets, I would assume, in a number of ways. Not that I utilize them in all those ways.
Nobody does.
Exactly.
Unless you're like an accountant or a data analyst or something like that. Google Docs and Google Sheets will do what you. The one thing that I do miss, and it's very, 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 very difficult to do, is the mail merges. You can't really do mail merges on easily. So you kind of got to go back to Word. Word has that kind of on lockdown. So I'm just saying.
Really?
Yeah. Like good luck finding a good mail merge program with Google Docs and Sheets.
We're talking office supplies now. Mail merges.
Hey,
I got your paper clips too.
This is your
I miss Clippy. Yeah, as Ray says, Clippy. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Eric, for the super chats as well. And Dust also brings up one other good point. I have an absolute deadline that before we start Jonesboro Open, so at least before, what day does that start? Thursday. So before Friday of next week, you will see all of my bonus coverage from Ledgestone. And I feel like that will be perfectly timed. So next week, you'll have some fresh content that you weren't planning on. And now you have to hold me to it to get it out to you. So next week, I think I have five effing rounds from Ledgestone. 3 MPO rounds and 2 FPO rounds to give to you. And 4 out of the 5 are already edited. Just get some commentary thrown on there and get them out to you guys.
Well, let's wrap this up and do our secret after show.
Looking forward to it. Wow. So many of you tuning in. We watched the numbers grow tonight as you guys joined us. We really do appreciate it as we ramble on and on about disc golf and non-disc golf related topics. Excited for the next 3 weeks. We can't say that enough. We're going to close this year out with a bang. Yeah.
Because we've got the Pro Tour finale.
Yeah,
the championship.
Well, okay, so the next 3 weeks of events that we have.
Okay, I'll give you that.
The next 3 events. But we are very much looking forward to all of it. Makers Telemark, here's a quick side note. Yes, I appreciate your diligence. All of a sudden, I got $10 in my PayPal, and I was like, I said something about a bet, and he said, I always pay up on my bets. You were right. And I was like, this is my favorite kind of PayPal to get, ones that say I'm right and there's money included. And I totally forgot about our bet. But yes, we made one right here on the show, Makers, and you had paid up on the wager where you said Simon Lizotte would win MVP. So you get it out of Simon is what I would do. You squarely place the blame on him. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Super excited to bring you, like I said, like Johnny said, the next month of live disc golf action from all over the country. Thank you to Dana for joining us in the regular show, and we'll certainly see you guys next week. So for Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been SmashBoxxTV's Podcast 316. Looking forward to it, and we'll see you next time you step inside the Smashbox.